The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen closer, just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast, airways feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. This is the Friday episode featuring John Jamingo, my guest, co-host of the Boomer Bunker. John and I had a really good talk. I hope you guys enjoy it. Get to learn a little bit more about John, get to learn a little bit more about me if you didn't know these things that we discussed. And just as a friendly reminder, you can sign up on patreon.com/I Had to Say It podcast or through Buy Me a Coffee/I Had to Say It podcast to get the full uncut version of the episode. And all the other guest episodes that I still have on file, that all the raw uncut versions are uploaded. So, yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, you're the preacher brought us, Duchess and I, in here. Actually, Jody mentioned something because you were in that Twitter group.
Yeah, I think, I'm in the group with Jody, and actually, I found you guys because of Matty Mish.
Mm.
God bless that
Okay.
kid. I love that kid to death. I really do.
Yeah.
I worry about him sometimes, but he's a good kid.
Yeah, I got in trouble with the Bromigos. Well, just one.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, to be honest, I never wound up on the Bromigos. I mean, we kicked it around a few times, or it's just the scheduling didn't really work. Because I was like, I mean, I appreciate you little young fellas, but if I'm going to be on there, I got to do it when Panama's on there, just so there's another old guy on there.
Yeah.
A relatively old guy, and I'm like, and it just never wound up panning out because my schedule is kind of stupid, and he's on the other side of the planet. So, and like I said, like I said, the funny thing is, I know you're not the only person I know who's had similar issues with those guys, where there's just a little difference of opinion, I guess. But
It's the age. It's the age and how they grew up and what they were taught.
yeah,
Especially with Mish. Mish is the same thing as that guy. I call him a kid.
yeah,
Edward.
kids. Yeah, they are kids. That's the thing.
Mid-30 kids.
Yeah, well, shit, mid-20s for Mish. He's
Is he mid-20s?
yeah, he's 20s.
Oh,
I think he's 27 now. He's a few months older than my kid, and it was kind of funny because I like logically knew that, but I never really applied it until I was talking to him a few weeks back, well, a couple months back now. I was doing a random spur of the moment live stream, and he popped in for a few minutes. And we were talking about something, and I said something about my kid, and he goes, "Jesus Christ, your kid's 6 months younger than I am, and it sounds like he's got his shit together way better." I'm like, it's not that mission, but you basically are my other kid at this point.
I don't know. We've talked podcasting before, and the thing that drives me crazy about him is he never can get a word out. Like, he's always waiting to apologize for the thing he's about to say.
Yeah,
and that's that whole millennial speak.
I would say,
I
yeah,
don't
it's a
say
generational thing. And
before,
just allow me to apologize in advance. Like, no, don't do that. Don't.
Not that I want to offend anybody or say anything.
Yeah, no. Whereas you get surly old bastards like us, and like, not only do I not care if I offend you, I kind of hope I do, because I mean,
bit.
if nothing else, at least you're kind of prodding the bear a little bit, getting them. I don't care if you agree with me, but for fuck's sakes, think. That's my primary thing. like me, hate me, I don't give a shit. It doesn't change the end of my, doesn't change what's in my bank. It doesn't change how I feel about myself. I don't care. Think what you want, but think for fuck's sake.
Was
Which,
it? Someone told me it was if you're not feeding me, fucking me, or financing me, I don't give a shit what you think.
yeah, I've literally said that to people. I'm like, you're not blowing me and you're not fucking making me a sandwich. I really don't fucking care.
Right.
Like, you can't talk that way to me. I'm like, yeah, I can.
Watch me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There's a running gag at my job right now between me and one of the IT guys. We kind of have it's not a hard bet, but it's kind of a soft standing bet on who can break the HR lady first.
Oh,
And I'm like, because I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure there's already a couple of policies in place between the two of us that are there because of us. And that's an accomplishment as far as I'm concerned. But the funny thing is, our HR lady she's a good fit for our company because she's a little unhinged herself, but she just controls herself way better than we do.
I haven't had that.
We're
I
sitting there
can't
making
remember the
Hitler
last.
jokes in the HR office, and it's just like, you can't say that. Like, sure, here, wait, now how about this one? Like, love him or hate him, you got to give him this much credit. At least Hitler killed Hitler. I mean,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe not.
No, he went to Argentina.
Yeah, I have a feeling you did.
I really believe that, especially at this point. I'm like, there are entire Argentinian towns that are blonde hair, blue eyes, German speaking motherfuckers.
Yep.
Yep.
That's where they went. They all got on a U-boat and over they went.
Yep. Like, oh no, he was in the bunker.
They tested the DNA of the skull
Yeah.
with the bullet hole in it. It's female.
I mean,
Well, it identifies as female.
yeah, it claims to be female. It feels like a female. It feels like a
Right.
female skull, and it feels pretty.
Sometimes I feel like Hitler. Sometimes I don't.
I mean, I think I have a button for that actually. Too many buttons. The thing that kills me is that song is actually not even like a Nazi song. It's about a field of flowers comparing a girl's beauty to flowers.
Doesn't matter. It just sounds like it.
Yeah, it's sound. I mean, that's the German people just sound angry. It doesn't matter what. Like I said,
Right.
I had a fun day of running errands because the wifey's like, "Well, if you're going to be podcasting on Sunday night, we need to get some shit done." And I'm like, "That's fair. I mean, this is my house too. It's not. I live here. I should contribute. You're not wrong." So I got up and I went to the gym like I tend to do on, most days. Sunday I don't because fuck that. But I got up and I went to the gym and I got there a little later than I normally. Like Saturday we sleep in because that's the only day that I can really do that. And then, but Shauna says if I get up early to go to the gym, I wake the animals up and they won't leave her alone, so she doesn't get to sleep in. So I'm like, okay, Saturdays I be a little get up a little later, so I didn't get up till like 6:30, quarter to 7.
Oh wow, that's later for you. Like,
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not a morning person. Don't let me give you the wrong idea. It's necessity. The dog is conditioned to get up to go out to the bathroom.
oh, that's right. The animals. I forgot.
Yeah, the dog is programmed. She's on a schedule
I know.
because of my work schedule Monday through Friday, and she doesn't know what a fucking weekend is. So,
Well,
so,
yeah. If they could pee in the toilet, we'd never get up early.
oh, no lie there at all. If I could, and I was talking about trying to get her toilet trained, and Shauna was like, "That's disgusting," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's the same." Because I was like, and "We're not gonna be able to get the dog on the toilet. That's just not, the
Right.
logistics doesn't work." I was like, "What if I build like a little, like take like a shower pan, and put like a fire hydrant on it or something for her to pee on, and she can pee in the shower pan, and then put a pressure switch outside of the shower to run the water when she steps off the pan to flush it." And I was like, this is fucking brilliant as far as I'm concerned. And Sean was just like, "We're not having the dog pee in the house." I'm like,
Yeah, that's I kind of. I'll tell you, nothing was more liberating than the time that when I don't. I said that's enough with pets. I've said, someone says that my kids are dying to get me a cat. I said, if anybody's going to shit in a box in this house, it's going to be me.
yeah, I can get behind that sentiment.
Yeah. I said
I
no
don't have a
cats.
lot of say in the matter because
Oh, yeah, I get it. I'll be honest with you. I don't like cats, so that's the other reason. And I'm
I
allergic.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I,
they're
I'm
assholes.
allergic to
Cats
them.
are assholes.
Yeah. But when I met the wife came with a cat, and
They're mine too.
yeah, and well, actually, the cat my wife came with, I actually really it was the first cat I ever met in my entire life that I liked because he 110% thought he was a dog. He
Yeah,
They found him when he was like 8 week old kitten or whatever, 6 week old kitten. Like he was technically too young to be away from his mom, but they found him and they rescued him. And my wife's mom used to breed toy poodles. So he was the exact same size as all these little fucking shit dogs that she had hanging around the house. And so he grew up with the dogs and he behaved exactly like a dog. He was like he would use his litter box if it was raining, but other than that, he would not shit in the house. He would go to the back door and holler until we let him out. And then he would go out in the yard. He was boundary trained. He wouldn't leave the yard. And he would play fetch. He would hang out. He was not obnoxious. He would just chill on the couch with me and watch TV and shit. I was like, "You're okay for a cat."
that's the deal. Then we got to start raising kittens with dogs.
Pretty much. And then we had a dog because uh, when we had the cat, and then we moved to Wisconsin. We came back from Wisconsin when I was working at a college and I got downsized because we got a new at the college I was working at. We had 7 chefs. There's seven residence halls, 7 chefs, 7 kitchens, and 7 building managers. And or I'm sorry, no, there were 6 chefs because the one hall only had a building manager. But um, we got a new GM, and the new GM said, "Why do we have so many chefs? We don't need this many chefs to run this campus." It's like, well, 1 chef per building, and so he decided to downsize, and I was the low guy on the totem pole, so I got downsized, and yeah, so we wound up moving back to Illinois, and we get back to Illinois, and my mother-in-law was like, "Alex needs a dog. A boy should grow up with a dog," and I'm like, "I don't have any say in this matter, do I?" And they're like, "Nope."
Nope.
I said, "Well, fuck." So we found a good dog at the shelter. We're gonna go get her. Blah 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 blah. And I was like, well, I haven't gone back to work yet, so I might as well go with to the shelter to get the dog. Make sure you don't buy too much shit for the dog on the way home. We're still poor, and I got to be honest. The adoption fee was like $25. Best $25 ever spent. She was the greatest, like best temperament, absolute sweetheart, wonderful dog. Had that dog for 15 years. And then she passed away about 3 years ago, two and a half. Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. Literally, like 2 weeks before her birthday, she was. I just bought her a bunch of toys and shit. Like, hey, old girl, you're 17 years old. I gotta celebrate. You're old, old. Here's a bunch of fluffy shit, and here's a bunch of soft treats, and since I was buying all this other shit, I also bought the like 40-pound bag of food because that's how I roll. I'm not going to the fucking store every fucking week to buy more dog food. Fuck that. So, so I had all these things, and then our dog died, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna take all this shit to the shelter and donate it because I don't need it. I don't have a dog, and so we took all this stuff and donated it. My wife wanted to ride with me, and she's
Came
all
home with a dog.
yeah, and so she was like, they had literally like one dog in the shelter at the time. Um, and they were like, "Yeah, this is, yeah, this is Dolly. She just kind of hangs out with us and blah blah blah." And my wife was like, I'm gonna go take her to walk around the yard if you guys don't mind." And I was like, "Well, start the paperwork, lady."
Yeah.
She was like, "What?" And I was like, "No, let me explain to you how this is gonna go. She's gonna come back in here and go, I know you just buried our dog last night, and I know you said it's too soon and you're not ready to get another dog, but I'm home alone all day while you're at work, and I don't want to be lonely, and I miss Lucky and blah blah blah." And I said, "And then we're gonna wind up leaving with this dog, so just start the paperwork already." And the lady kind of looks at me, and then Shauna came in, and it went almost exactly verbatim how I said it was going to go. And I just looked at the lady, and I'm like, "The paperwork's already started. Just go put her in the car." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "I already paid. Yes." And then as we're getting ready to walk out of the shelter, the lady's like, "Do you want all the dog food and stuff back?" And I was like, "You know what? I got a good job. No, you guys need it more than I do. You guys run on donations anyway. Just give it to the other dogs and, make sure they're taken care of and give them the toys and shit so they're comfortable while they're waiting to die. So,
My
so we left with another dog.
we had a Bichon Frise, and they said it had Lyme disease. I don't know, but anyhow, she took it to the University of Penn Veterinarian Hospital, which means it's going to cost you $5,000 for your dog to die.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, of course, the dog has to be put down. So we put the dog down. The wife's laying in bed, sobbing, sobbing. And I called her sister who got us the dog. And I said, "Can you get another dog?" And she says, "I'll check." And she goes, "They just had another litter of puppies. They're ready to go." I said, "Go get a dog." So she brings the dog. And I said that. So, and my wife was says, "I don't want to die, kid. I don't want another dog." She's crying in bed. So we bring the puppy in. We put the puppy down. She goes, "I don't want to. Oh, look how cute." And that was it. We forgot the other dog's name.
That's yeah. Actually, my mom had a couple Bashans when I was a youth. Yeah, well, early 20s. Um, it was kind of funny because the reason she wound up with the first one because my stepdad is a little more like, yeah, we don't need freaking animals. I don't need anything else in the house that eats and shits and doesn't contribute. And I'm like, I understand that. I really do. I've said it myself multiple times. I just don't have any say in the matter. But so my mom and my stepdad moved down to Illinois. I'm still living in Wisconsin. My kid brother's still living in Wisconsin. My step siblings are all scattered to the four corners. But anyway, so it's just my mom and my stepdad in Illinois, and my stepdad's at work all day, and my mom's home alone. So she's lonely, and she's used to having her family close, so she's all bummed out. And my stepdad, for Christmas, got her a gift card to go pick out a dog, and for the present, he gave her a dog crate that was wrapped up. And it was like, that was kind of slick because that established what size the dog could be, is it had to fit in this crate. So you're not getting some big ass, horse that's going to eat 90 pounds of food a week. And
Right.
I was like, okay, well played, well played. You said small to medium dog there, so that's good. And so my mom goes and she's, are you kidding? Are you serious? And she goes and she gets this Bichon. And he was a sweet dog, dumb as a sack of bricks though, and had horrible, horrible gas.
Oh,
And yeah, just constantly. It was the weirdest thing. Now, about I don't know 6 or 8 weeks after my mom gets this dog, and they bring the dog everywhere with her. Like at the time, my mom and my stepdad were back in Wisconsin every 4 or 5 weeks because it was only like a 2 hour drive from Kenosha to where they were living in Illinois, and so they come up on the weekends or whatever. My mom always had this dog with her, so all my cousins see the dog, and all the family meets the dog, and everybody loves the dog. And then my one cousin, just she knows my mom, she knows how things work. Calls her up out of left field and goes, "Hey, Aunt Debbie, I was at the shelter. I found this dog. It would be such a great match to go with your dog to keep him company." And it's this other little Bashan, and I I hate to say this because it makes me feel horrible in a lot of ways because he really was just absolutely the sweetest dog in the whole wide world. But he had definitely, you could tell he'd been abused. Like both of his front legs were fucked up. Like he was terrified of stairs. Like it looked like somebody kicked him
oh,
upstairs as a puppy. And because he was less than a year old when my mom got him, but he also looked like he had a touch of downs. Like, I mean, seriously, the way his eyes were set and some of his personality traits, he was a little downsy. And I'm like, okay, this puppy was a little too inbred, is what this was. This is a
tight line breed.
yeah, and but he was, like I said, just the sweetest boy. He was the goodest boy. He was once he got over being afraid of stairs, he used to just run up and down the stairs for like an hour at a time because it made him happy. And I was just like, it must be great being that simple. And then, due to some circumstances of a lot of shit going sideways in my life all at once, I wound up moving back home with my mom and stepdad in Illinois, which is how I wound up here. And it was supposed to be temporary. I was going to go to culinary school, and once I got my degree, I was going to fuck off and go away. But I wound up meeting my wife before I got my degree, and yeah, 20 plus years later, I'm still in Illinois. But yeah, these dogs were because I was living with I move in with my mom and my stepdad, and but yeah, Bashan's, huh?
Yeah. Uh,
uh, yeah, I derailed myself,
that's okay. Is this the show?
more or less.
Okay, just check.
Yeah, I mean, this is how guest episodes go. I am so
Okay.
unprepared when I try to have a plan. It doesn't work. It comes off so stilted and fucked up.
Okay.
So why don't you tell me? I understand you are into
Well, okay.
knives, and it's like that's not me. It's we'll shoot the shit, see how things go. What's going on? What do you think about what's going on in the world? There's plenty to talk about.
Oh, good God, there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah, it's been a few days of wow. It's been a few days. Um, it was actually kind of funny. I we were talking about it on Friday on Bruce's on the weathered view. And I was like, yeah, me and John are going to sit down and we're going to have the most old man yells at cloud episode I had to say it you're ever going to hear. I'm anticipating us both just getting unhinged at some point. And
Okay.
so, but the expectation is I think that everybody's expecting us to be all ranty and sons of bitches, get off my lawn. So,
It's kind of what I thought was going to happen.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not opposed to it. I just don't have anything structured.
I'm wondering because I wasn't sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like I said. This is for me. It's free form. It's just what do you want to talk about?
Okay.
Especially because when a lot of other people, because I've actually had a couple guests on that aren't podcast people, which is
Uh-huh.
always kind of fucked up. I mean, it's a little different when it's like people that are used to at least talking on the microphone, as opposed to people that are like, well, and you get that 1,000 yard stare right into the
You got to drag everything out of them.
like, come on, just conversational. We're just two people shooting the shit. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter that we're on the opposite sides of the fucking country. We're still just two people talking. Do you need to
Yeah.
get a cocktail? Do you want a cup of tea? What'll lubricate this discourse?
Yeah. It was funny today. This is how I wake up in the morning. I hear my text go off and it's my daughter. And I said, oh my God, what has Trump done now? So, because I have three kids. My kids are like the three bears.
Oh,
One likes Trump, one despises Trump, one don't give a shit about Trump. So apparently he wore a blue suit to the
yeah, you want to talk about some selective fucking outrage in that one. Yeah, that's oh my God, he broke protocol. Yeah, and I've seen so many fucking retarded people getting on. Look, I can't believe he didn't have the dignity to wear a black suit to a funeral. Well, first off, there's no law that says you have to wear a black suit. I mean, it's traditionally, yes, it's a little more morose. It's a little fucking morbid. He was not the only person not wearing a black suit at that fucking funeral. I mean, the media being the jagoffs that they are immediately, oh well, look here, let's crop this picture. Look,
exactly
everybody's in black except Trump. And then you pull back, another 5 feet, and it's like, oh look, blue suit, blue suit, blue suit, blue
right.
suit, gray suit, towel, dashiki, and it's like, shut the fuck up. Who can? And saying as somebody who's been to more than my fair share of funerals, because I used to be an altar boy. That's a whole fun conversation too. But
Is it?
oh
Okay.
yeah, I was blissfully naive that apparently we did have a pedophile in my church when I was a kid. I never got molested, so when I found out we had a pedophile, I was shocked. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Wasn't I pretty?
Wasn't I good enough? Wasn't I good enough to molest?
Right? I was kind of hurt. I'm like, wait, I was alone with him hundreds of times.
The
I'm not
ugliest kid in the
suppressing
rectory.
anything. What the
Yeah.
fuck? Now, the
Uh,
funny thing is, my kid, because I found out from my kid brother, um, he didn't get molested either, but apparently one of his friends did. And I was like, because we were talking about something, I was like, yeah, I get the joke and everything, but, I mean, we never had a pee pee toucher. What the fuck? And my brother's like, dude, Father Carlos was totally a pee pee toucher. I'm like, no, he wasn't. I was around him hundreds of times and he never molested me. Then my brother's like, well, you remember my buddy Andy? I said, yeah. He goes, well, and I was like, oh. And then I was like, the fuck? I didn't get molested. What the fuck?
so
And
I had a
my brother
yeah.
goes, to be fair, you were bigger than him by the time he showed up to our church. I was like, okay, because he's a little Guatemalan fella. He was like 5'2", and by eighth grade, I was a good solid 5'8" and probably a buck 40. So my brother's like, yeah, you weren't his type. You're bigger than him.
I had a situation. I went to Catholic school up into fifth grade, and I have a situation that I have a memory of, and I'm told that this memory was wrong, but my memory was I know this happened that we were all lined up and checked for hernias. And I think this was either I think it was third grade. We were all lined up and checked for hernias. I think the priest did it. They said no, it was a doctor. I don't remember a doctor. I remember the priest and I remember the nun being in there. And I remember this. And I remember I was really, really uncomfortable. And I remember telling my mom that I came home. I said, they checked us for a hernia today. And she goes, what? I go, yeah, what's a hernia? And I said, and why do they got to touch your nuts? And why do you have to cough? And she's like, what? But no one said anything. No one said anything. Like I went to school for 2 more years in that parish.
It was a different time. Just,
Was it?
It was. I'm trying to, no, that's fucked up.
And here's another. My mom had bought a house when I was going to college. My mom had bought a house right behind the church that was the parish that we were a part of. And this one father, use his name, Father Current, he's still alive. And I was, I don't know, he must be 105. I don't know how old he is. So we had a black pit bull, one of the nicest pit bulls I've ever seen. Never went after anybody, just a like Petey kind of pit bull.
Mm-hmm.
Father Current would walk from the rectory to the church. That dog would try to kill him. And I remember one time the dog got over the fence, and I hear the father going, bad dog, bad dog. And I look out the window. I'm upstairs. I look out the window and I yell, Jesus Christ, get in the yard. And the dog runs back and jumps over the fence. I'm sorry, Father. But here I am using Luke's name.
Yeah. I mean,
they say dogs know good people. So if you put 2 and 2 together, I don't know.
Yeah. Now on the other hand, sometimes I don't know. Most dogs know good people. My dog is psychotic. The new one we got, the one we like, oh look, and the one that's the other thing too. When we picked her up from the shelter, like I said, this dog was the only one in the building at the time, and the office people just kind of kept her by them, keep her socialized and stuff, I guess. She came over, sat on my feet, laid her head on Shauna's lap. The lady's like, she never does that with anybody. I'm like, yeah, fucking pull the other one, lady. Trying to pawn this dog off on.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, sure she doesn't.
Sure she doesn't. That's exactly what I was saying. And the lady's like, no, seriously. And then we got her home, and after having her for about 4 days, I was like, okay, maybe she really doesn't do that shit to anybody else, because this dog is fucking antisocial. I mean, she's the sweetest person to like us,
but everybody else,
and she loves my mother-in-law, which is good because we're in the same building. I mean, it's we have a duplex situation. They live on one part of the house, we live in the other part, and so my mother-in-law watches her when we're not around or whatever, and she loves my mother-in-law. She's okay with my father-in-law, but he's kind of like, eh. And she's just like, okay, he doesn't like me, I'll leave him alone. But these are all people in the house, so this is all the house people. The house people are good. Like my son, who happened to be here when we brought her home, and she was fine with him. When like, oh, okay, I guess you come with the house. But again, he's in his mid-20s. He doesn't live here, so. And then he left, and he didn't come back for like a week and a half. And when he came back the next time, he just came walking in because this is still home and he's used to it. And she was like, Kill! And I was like, no, that's you were nice to him the first day. What the fuck? And yeah, so she likes her small specific set of people, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a good dog. That's a good protective dog.
Oh, yeah. She's it gets a little problematic sometimes. Like we take her to the vet and she's trying to eat everyone, and I'm like, do we need to muzzle her? And
yes,
although it's actually kind of funny, she only does that if my wife comes with. She's ultra protective of my wife.
Oh, okay.
If it's just me and her, I can hand her off to the gals at the vet, and she's just like, "You'll be here when I get back, right? They're gonna go stick something up my butt again." Like, yeah, no, I'll be right here. You go on, and she goes.
Warm the thermometer. Can't they warm the thermometer up first?
Right, just roll it between your hands, But yeah, like I said, if I'm there and I take her, she's fine. She doesn't spaz out. She doesn't try to eat the vet techs. If my wife's with us, oh no, everybody needs to die. And it's funny because like she's people aggressive, she's dog aggressive, she's scared of our cat. It's the cat weighs 8 pounds. The dog's like 56. The cat runs the show. He's definitely the one in charge.
Hmm.
She came home. He like pimp slapped her the first day she was in the house.
Papped her up.
He stood up on his back like poof, and then sat
Yeah.
back down and just like
Let me just tell you, hey, let me just tell you how it's going to run here in this prison, bitch. I'm
like
top cat.
hold my pocket. Pretty much. So yeah.
When I was young, and when I say I was young, I was like 5. Uh, my dad was a mechanic, and the place, he had his own repair shop with my 2 uncles. And there was a lot of people breaking into things, and he wanted a guard dog. So my dad went to Philadelphia and bought a German Shepherd, pure black, completely black, not a white speck on him. The dog was named Satan. This dog, when it came to the house, they said they called the cops because they said that we have a bear on a chain in the yard.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so my dad's playing with the dog. 2 guys are there, and playing with the dog, throwing the dog a stick and everything. The 2 guys leave. Dad's got the dog on a chain because back in the 60s, you used to chain your dog to a tree. It wasn't illegal. So my dad goes to get the dog some water, gets a bucket of water, and then starts walking in. The dog waited till he could get in and knock it out. He attacked him, and my dad had to go to the hospital, get stitches. They had to call the people back so they could get him. They took him to my uncle's house, who had a pen. And for 2 weeks, they had to beat the dog with a rubber radiator hose just to get in there to get the dog's dish to feed it. And then the dog finally came around and said they were friendly.
out there okay.
Yeah,
2 weeks of ass whoopings and food. I mean,
right. So when I was there, my dad was scared to death the dog was going to kill his kids. And I used to go to him to the garage. So my dad would say, feed him stuff, feed him stuff. So I would give him like treats and stuff. And then when he would bring him home, then the dog loved me and my sister. So my dad couldn't even raise his voice. Like if we did something and my dad would yell at us, the dog would. You couldn't do anything with us kids.
yeah.
So I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know this because I always talk about this on my podcast. I have a cousin. His name's Jimmy. We call him the Jimmy.
Yes, the Jimmy.
The Jimmy one time jumped on my dad's back in the garage. The dog had a muzzle on it. The dog bit Jimmy through the muzzle. They had to take the dog to the vet to cut the muzzle off the dog because it was all entangled in its teeth. It was like a metal bit. Bit had to have the muzzle cut off of him. So yeah, but I love that dog. That dog was the best dog in the whole world. I play with it, roll on the ground with it, and all. And that dog loved me. But if anybody got near me or threatened me, he'd kill him.
Oh yeah.
He was smart. Like my dad had to get rid of him. He couldn't have him in the shop because a guard dogs are supposed to bark
Yeah.
and scare people away.
Yes.
He would sit there and wait for you to get in, and then until he knew he could get you, and then he would attack. He was a killer. That dog was a killer.
Yeah, he was not playing. He was.
Yeah, he broke out of the yard one time, and the neighbor came out for work, and they chased the neighbor up on top of his car. And the neighbor's screaming, and somebody had to call the cops, and the cops see the dog, and the cops are like, "No, we're not. Go get Jamingo, and we'll and he'll get the dog because at the garage." The police came up to check the door to see if it's locked. The dog jumped through the window and pinned the cop up on top of the car.
Yeah, I mean, effective. Give them that.
Vicious dogs.
Yeah, actually, worst experience I ever had with a dog, vicious little cocksuckers, was when I was growing up. My friend had 3 racist ass Chihuahuas, and I say racist ass Chihuahuas because they hated white people, like. Literally, my friend group growing up, it was kind of like it looked like an after school special, really. A couple black dudes, a couple Mexican guys, couple token white guys, and we all just hung out. We didn't give a shit. We all went to the same school. We were all relatively equally broke. I mean, it was just my friend crew, and occasionally we would go to my one buddy's house, and like I said, he had these three little yappy ass, angry white people hating chihuahuas that like Mexican dudes would come walking in the door, silence. Black dudes come walking in the door, nothing. I come walking in the door, and 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 it was funny because my buddy's dad was actually like blonde hair, blue eyed Caucasian, which is I was just kind of like, you from Argentina, not Mexico? He's like, I know,
Uh,
recessive genes. I'm like, oh,
what you mean? Am I from
yeah,
Argentina?
yeah, exactly. Was ist das? No, no, nein. Argentina, yeah. I don't know. But good people. But like I said, just didn't. He looked as Caucasian as you could imagine, and the dogs were fine with him.
Uh,
My
we,
big dumbass comes walking in, and they just would attack me. And this, my teenage years, I always had freaking steel toe boots on. Just it was just what I wore. So they'd be attacking me and like biting my freaking boots. And it's thick leather. I don't care. Fuck it. Go ahead, bite, you little bastards, and you break your teeth. I want you to. And there was the old female was like one of those ones that had the really long hair, and then the other two were like younger and they had the little short hair. So the old one was the ringleader. She was the one that was just like, I hate you, fat man. And at one point, because being teenagers doing dumb teenager shit, me and my buddies went out. We got really stoned one day, and we went back to my buddy's house to eat tortillas with peanut butter because we were really stoned, and it sounded like a brilliant fucking idea. so so we ate a bunch of tortillas with peanut butter and like passed out on the couch, nodded off, fall asleep. Well, my buddy had put the dogs in, like, locked them in one of the other rooms so we could relax, and I wasn't sitting there having to be attacked by dogs and ruin my perfectly good high. And apparently his sister came home while we were all like knocked out in the fucking living room, And she goes and lets the dogs out, and they come out and they're sniffing around, and they knew I was there. They weren't happy that I was there, but they knew I was there. But like I said, we were all passed out in the living room. I'm knocked out on the couch, and I wake up and I got three fucking chihuahuas in a row sleeping down my chest. And
do I wake them?
I woke up and I sat up and I went, "What the fuck?" And like I said it out loud, and the little ringleader is laying right next to, like, right where she could bite me in the neck if she wanted to, and she picks her head up off of my chest, goes, and then lays her head back down. I'm like, okay, apparently this is where we're at now. I am now furniture.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I'm like, dude, wake up, get your fucking
Get your
psychotic little dogs off of my.
pack chihuahuas. I would have picked one of them up and beat the other ones to death with it.
Yeah,
I don't play games with dogs. I got bit when I was 7 or 8 years old. The neighbors had 3 German shepherds, and they came outside, and I was in my yard. They came across and bit me. They got me in the ankle, and then I got off. I was able to get off my bike and keep my bike between them.
yeah.
And then my dad came out and then chased them off. So yeah, I'm a big dogs, especially big vicious dogs. I'm not fond of.
Yeah, that's justifiable.
But
I
now I don't put up
I
with any
cold
kind of
cocked a
aggressive
dog
one.
once. That was, like I said,
Yeah,
little ones. I was just kind of like, okay, this sucks, but I didn't want my friend's mom to hate me. She's actually the reason I originally learned Spanish, not because I was in Spanish class, but because we would get in trouble and we'd make her so mad she'd forget English when she was yelling at us, and that's kind of how I learned Spanish.
Oh.
But
I have to try that.
yeah, it's definitely one of the ways to learn. But like I said, later on in life, I was a teenager, and I was going from my dad's house. I was out one night walking, right? I was at a house party, like, I don't know, maybe a half mile from my dad's house, and I had significantly more to drink than I should have as a, like, 17-year-old. Well, 18. I was probably 18. I think it was the summer after senior year. So yeah, I was definitely 18. And so I'm walking from this house party I left back to my dad's house. It's summer. It's nice out. Fuck it. You know, why not? I mean, it's like, I don't know, maybe midnight-ish. And there's a tavern down the street from my dad's house because it's, you know, Wisconsin and taverns are pretty everywhere. and and I'm walking along and there's this, you know, freaking bulldog chained like a British bulldog chained to a freaking bike rack in front of the pub. And I'm like, I mean, first off, a bike rack in front of a bar is a very Wisconsin thing too, because you know you can't get a DUI if you're on two wheels and you're pedaling. But so this dog's going ape shit, and I'm just like, oh, that sucks. I can't believe somebody left their fucking dog chained up like that. And like I said, I'm half in the bag myself. That poor little guy. Hey, poor little guy. What's the matter? I'm sorry. Did they leave you out here? Do you need some water? I'll go in and get you some water in the bar, and you know. And before I can go in the bar to try and say we need some water for the dog out there, the dog's owner comes out and he's, "What are you doing to my dog?" I'm like, "I haven't been anywhere near your dog. He's barking his damn fool head off at me." And the guy was drunk as well, and he thought it was funny. So he's like, "Get him, boy!" And he like unhooks the dog, and the dog starts running towards me, and I was like, "Shit!" And I swung down and punched him right in the side of the head, and the dog well, we're not doing that again. And he turned around and ran back, and the guy's like, "You hit my fucking dog!" And then the dog bit him. I was like, I was like, well, apparently we had a factory reset on that one. You sicked him on me. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Well, what are you doing out here anyway, you asshole?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
"I'm
there's your
going
dog.
home. Fuck you."
There's a dog behind you right there.
Yeah, that's her. I brought her in here with me because the wife's in the shower, and I didn't want her to like, you know,
Right.
get in.
Right. Okay, good. She's laying down. It looked like she was looking for a spot to go to the bathroom. I always know that when
Yeah,
they
that,
start
like,
circling, you're like, get him out of there.
nope. No, she's actually really good about not slipping in the house. Um, unless I say as a caveat to that, there was a couple of 3 weeks ago. There was we had a really severe thunderstorm come through, and it was just raining fucking buckets outside. And you know, I put on a coat and took her outside. Come on, we got to go do our business. And so I'm walking her around the yard, and she's this is where she's too smart for her own good. We got about 4 steps outside of the door, and she squats down like she's peeing, like immediately. And then she turns around and starts walking back. I'm like, well, that was quick. All right. Well, apparently she just decided to fake it so she didn't have to go outside. Because about 45 minutes later, she went into our like we got like a utility slash storeroom. It's just you know it's concrete floor and just
Would you want to shit outside in the pouring rain?
and yeah, I mean, you know, she didn't even shit. She just went in there and just like
I
went
know, but
kind of by the floor drain and peed by the drain. Like she's seen me squeegee it in there before or something. I don't know. So she even knew where to pee. Where she's just like, yeah, I'll get in the least trouble if I do it right here.
right.
I
See, this is why I can't. I don't know. Look, I've raised beagles for hunting. I've had them outside. I've had dogs inside. You know, we like I said, we had German shepherds. We bred the Satan to another German shepherd that my mom had 13 puppies. So then I had another was an all black one that we kept. We named her Donkin. She was really nice unless you know she felt like anybody was threatening, and then her father would come out in her.
yeah.
Um, and at that time we had horses too, so she hated horses until one of them kicked her over the corral fence. Then she stayed away from. She still hated them, but she
And she said, "You know what? Fuck you, big dog. You stay over there."
yeah. Fuck you, big dog with your big toenails. I'm going to stay out of your way. I'm just going to bark at you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk shit from over here, where as long as
Right.
that fence is there, fuck you.
Mm.
But
Yeah. I mean, I've done the dog thing for a long time. So it's nice not to have that responsibility. Now my kids still have dog. I mean, you know, I go to the house where I used to live and you walk in and I'm like, still we're doing this.
like,
You know, they're barking until I walk in. I said, it's just still me. But yeah, I think it's great. I think every kid should be raised with a dog. I think it helps.
oh, for sure, and you know, little
I
responsibility.
agree with that. Yeah.
It's your dog. You need to make sure it's taken care of. You know.
Yes.
Yep.
But I just don't. I
I'm
don't.
not saying that to my wife doesn't carry the same weight as saying it to my kid did.
Yeah, I just don't have the wherewithal to try to take care of a dog or a pet. I can barely take care of myself right now. I have a hard time with, doing different. I pay people to do things around the house that I used to do. So
I'm not gonna lie. I'm at the point where I was like, if I tell people, when, not if, when my wife
and,
gets sick of my shit and throws me the fuck out.
oh, okay. I
I,
thought you were saying when the dog dies.
oh no, that's the dog's probably gonna outlast me. So I mean, she's only like 3, so she's got a good probably decade left at least.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's meh. So no, but when my wife gets sick of me and throws me out, I'm not having any responsibilities. But I am going to be so fucking useless. I'm going to be that guy where it's going to be like, this is Aaron's bachelor pad because half of his checks go to his wife, and this is all he can afford. He has a folding lawn chair, and he has his computer set up. It's balanced on TV trays that he got at St. Vincent de Paul's, and yeah, that's all he has in his house. It's great.
Right. He goes to the food bank and gets his Cheerios and his government bread.
Yep. Although, actually, I got to be honest. At least doing what I do, because as a chef, I don't ever have to worry about going too hungry.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
When I before I got married, I was living with my brother and my godbrother, and those two fucking degenerates. I I love them dearly. They're my family. I have to love them. That's
I have to love them. Yes.
don't really like them most of the time, but they just we had the most like fucked up run of everything that could conceivably go wrong did, like in the exact chain of sequences I needed to wind up getting married. Like I'm like, if I would have made different decisions at this point in my life, I wouldn't have gotten married. I would have fucking never stayed in Illinois. But just the way the chips fell, it just worked out. And yeah, I'm not bitching. I'm mostly content with my life. I have nothing's perfect, but uh, but at the time, I was like, they both managed to lose their job within like 6 weeks of each other. So, and I was still in culinary school at the time, so I was going to school full time, working part time, and then all of a sudden, 2/3 of the bill payers are no longer employed, and we were all in our early to mid 20s. So it's not like we had a lot of wherewithal and forethought. Like, I should be putting money in the bank. It was like, no, I'm going to go out, get drunk, and chase ass. So
Yes.
all of a sudden, like we went from having a very significant surplus of income in the house because they both were working full time. Like my kid brother had just gotten out of the Navy, 6 months before that or whatever. He was working full time trying to decide what he wanted to do with his life. My god brother actually had a really good job where he was making, I don't know, I want to say it's like 70K a year or something like that, which you got to bear in mind. This was in like 2002.
Hey, it was good money back
It
then.
was really good money back then. I mean, his base rate was like after taxes, I think was like $1,500 a week, and then he got commissions too because he was like the district sales manager for a temp agency, and so he was making really good money. And again, like I said, none of us had any real thought behind what we were doing other than like, hey, let's have fun, let's be stupid, let's make bad choices. Bad choices make for great stories. That's what we're
That's
gonna
what
do.
your 20s are, bad choices.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, first my godbrother loses his job, and I'm like, all right, well, we can get by until you find something. I'm sure you'll find something else. You got a hell of a resume for being as young as we are. Because I mean, he's like, I don't know, 4 months older than me. So I'm like, you'll be all right. You'll land on your feet. We'll get. Well, this was like I said, this was early 2000s, right before like everything started going to shit. So so and the reason he lost his job was the temp agency he was the like district manager for like got bought out by another temp agency, and they merged the two.
Oh, that's what happens.
So there
One,
was
one got to
a
go.
lot of redundancy, and it wasn't even that he had to go, it was because his boss's position became redundant. So his option was either I fire you and take your job, or I get fired. So he got the axe. He got like 6 weeks of severance or something like that. And so we coasted on that 6 weeks of severance for a while, but they had both been unemployed for like 4 or 5 months. And my kid brother, actually, he got the shaft worse because he I had gotten him his job. It was working at I knew the owner of a auto parts company that worked with us. That they also owned a salvage yard, and they would part out the cars and sell the parts to different mechanics and shit. And he was a delivery driver for them. He drove the truck to because he could pick up an engine block. So it was like, okay, here, yeah, you can do this. And there was like a hostile takeover. Like two of the partners decided to buy out the third partner. The third partner was the guy I knew, and when they bought him out, they fired everybody that he hired because he didn't want anybody that was loyal to this guy staying with the company after they fucking basically railroaded him out of the company. So I'm like, through no fault of their own, both of my roommates are all of a sudden unemployed. I'm working part time. We were playing pay the bills roulette, where we would pile up all the utilities in a pile and then shuffle them around and pull one out, and that's who got paid that month. And
Oh wow, yeah.
and the landlord got most of his rent on the first, and then I was like, look, dude, I'll give you the rest when the next check comes through. That's literally all I have to still have enough gas to get back and forth to my job so I can keep paying you. This is the situation. It is what it is. It's going to cost you more to evict us than it's going to cost you to pay for me to pay the rent late, and you get the late fee every time I pay you, so you're actually making extra money. Don't bitch. And the guy he was a cunt anyway, but just slumlord piece of shit. But but yeah, so it was not a fun time, but I managed to keep eating because I was still working in a kitchen. So
Oh, that's good.
that was
Yeah,
a
just
long drawn out way of saying, yeah, I'll survive. I'm
yeah.
gonna eat. Everything else might be negotiable, but
I just realized that I had a 24-year elevator career because I could drive a stick shift. That's how it started. My friend, whose whole family was in the elevator business, I was in college. I was going to college for radio, TV, film, and I needed a summer job. And his father said, "We need a truck driver. You know how to drive a stick?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You know how to drive around Philadelphia?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, I can teach you that." Fine. He says, "Start working for us." So I started working, driving a steak body truck around Philadelphia because I could drive a stick. And that got me into knowing everybody. And then the union broke wide open and 80 people in the union. And the guy says to me, "Hey, we can get you a permit. You can be a elevator apprentice." And I said, "My biggest fear in the world is electricity and heights. You guys work with electricity in high places." And he says, "You can do it." And I did it. That's the reason that I got in the elevator business, because I could drive a stick.
drive a stick. Yeah, that's I got in a lot of trouble because I could drive a stick shift. That was I actually wound up portering a couple of cars, and I was doing this as a complete side hustle for a guy I used to work for because he had 97 different freaking businesses going at any given time. It was like, hey, Aaron, you know how to drive stick? Yeah, I know how to drive stick. Why do you ask? He says, I need you to come with me. So we're gonna bring a couple cars back. I need somebody that can drive stick. I'm like, well, my truck is stick, so yeah, I'm pretty sure I can handle a stick shift because I had a Jeep with a 5-speed manual. So I was like, yeah, no problem. Where are we going to do this? And he's like, oh, don't worry. I'll drive. I'm gonna show you where the cars are. It turns out I was fucking repoing cars.
I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to repo a car.
Yeah, I
I
just
love
thought it
how
was
it
kind of weird.
shows.
We were picking these cars up at like 11:30 at night. I was like, and he had like the extra key, so I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Start the car, back out, take off, head back to where I was supposed to drop the cars off. And like the first two times, like I said, no big, like I didn't think about it. We went after the restaurant closed, so I'm like, okay, that makes sense. We're out picking up these
Do you
cars.
get paid by the car, or do you get paid by the
I
hour?
got paid by the car.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
That's good
it,
because
it was like $50 a car.
okay,
And this is, I'm 21, single, no responsibilities, and it's extra money in my pocket. Yeah, sure, yeah, no problem. And then
yeah.
my early 20s were interesting in terms of side gigs I did. It's like I was playing a video game and not doing any of the main missions. It
I'd
was
be honest with you. I think video games is what killed this economy. These kids
part of
don't want to go to work because they want to play video games.
that's part of it. I will agree. People put their balances out of line. Like I do it, blow off a little steam, decompress. I still play video games. I don't focus my life around them.
Uh-huh.
That's what I do if I've had a really rough day and I can't go out in the street and just shoot random ass people. I can fire up my PlayStation and shoot random motherfuckers until I feel better.
That is weird.
Sure.
I've never, I was always behind the technology. Like, there was Pong, and
Yeah.
then there was Atari, and then there was Genesis. But my cousins and all, younger cousins, played, and everybody behind me was really into gaming. Me, not so much.
See, I wouldn't say I'm really into it. Like I said, for me, it's just something stupid to do that keeps me out of trouble. That
I
that
tried.
that is actually one of the bigger factors that got me a little more serious about it. Where I was like, I'm going to buy a PlayStation, or actually a PlayStation 2. That was the first system I bought for myself because my kid brother gave me a PlayStation one year when the first one came out for Christmas one year, and I was like, wow, this is really generous of you. Thanks, I appreciate it. And then I when I went to go hook it up and didn't fucking work. And I was like, where the fuck did you get this, bro? He's like, what? I'm like, it doesn't turn on. I'm like, it's fucked. And so he's like, well, it should be fine. I bought it from, it should still be good. He's
I
like,
stole it from a house over
well,
on.
no, it was in a PlayStation box. The seal was on the box and everything.
Okay.
So I contact Sony and I'm giving them the information and then they're like, okay, well, there's a serial number on the unit and a serial number on the box. I read them the serial number on the box. It doesn't match the serial number on the fucking unit. And I'm like, they're like, it sounds like you're trying to rip us off. I'm like, no, I just opened this. This was a Christmas present. And after going back and forth with the guy, we figured out what happened is somebody, because this was, again, this was like the late 90s, anti
Bought
theft
one.
was a little different, bought one, took a heat gun, heated up the glue on the security seal, unsealed it, swapped out the fucked one, put it in there, closed it up,
Took it back.
yeah, and then took it back. Because I shipped it back to Sony, like, here you go, tell me what's wrong with it. I don't know what the fuck's going on, because apparently they had tried like modifying it. They put one of the chips in there so you could play copied games, and they fucked it up when they did it. So they had a fried PlayStation that they put in the box and then returned to the store. So and then Sony's like, "Are you sure you didn't do this?" I'm like, "Why the fuck would I make that up?" I mean, yeah, that's a creative story. It really is. But no, why would I tell you here the serial number on the unit doesn't match the serial number on the box? This is work with me here. And actually, to their credit, Sony sent me a new one. I was like, okay, cool, solid, thank you.
I did get into VR. I have a VR headset. I actually have two.
I
Uh,
kind of want one, but I'm like, do I really need one?
it's weird at first when you first get it on, when you first put it on, because everything is, I've already smashed my head into the wall
Oh, gee.
and, and walked into shit. And then I said, okay, that's enough of that. But mainly what I did was I found out that you could play poker on it, and you go to a table and people there. And I'll be honest with you, it's the closest thing to live poker that I've ever found. So that was a lot of fun. And then I put it away for the longest time. And then I tried to take it out the other day and start it up. And now my one controller won't work. It's almost as much money to buy a controller as is to buy a whole new unit.
I believe it. That's
So
how they get
yeah,
you.
I was thinking about, but here's the thing about gaming. I'm not into the shoot 'em up games. I don't know why. It's not my thing. I can't seem to get into it, but I've tried the auto racing games. That's a lot of fun.
That's actually back in
That's
the
a lot
day.
of
That
money.
was what I played back then.
Yeah.
I like the Gran Turismos and all that stuff. I loved those games when I was younger. Like I said, the shooting people thing, that's a more recent development for me. That was not never really my genre until, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or whatever. I started playing one of the Battlefield simulators, actually Battlefield, and I would play that. Like, I'd get really stressed out at work and I'd come home and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go snipe people. And it was because it was playing online too. So it's not like I was sniping just boring people in the game. It was other people playing the game. So I was going after other people. And something about that, just I was like, yeah, this makes me feel better. I mean, less stress. I'm ruining somebody else's day. And I got pretty good at it for a while, because it was like I said, that was my decompression. I would get home from work, everybody else in the house was already in bed, and I would just sit down and play my game for a half hour and then relax and go to bed. And
It's funny. The kids now, they stream that right on Twitch.
yeah, and
Uh, Matty Mitch does that. He goes and streams that, and I try to watch him, but I'm like, this is boring.
Yeah,
But
I don't get that. Kids will sit there and watch other kids play games freaking hours.
right, I don't understand it. But then last night I watched poker. I watched a cash game of poker for 3 hours, watching them play. And me being the guy that I am, I announce it. So I'm like, okay, here's under the gun. That's a fold. Oh, here we go. We're coming in with a raise. And then you see another guy's got kings, and you're like, oh, here comes a repop. And then so we go through the whole thing. And for 3 hours, I watched poker. And after I done, I said, I could have watched two movies, but
Yeah.
I'm watching poker and enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. I try not to get too judgy about what people enjoy. If you enjoy something, just fucking
Yeah,
enjoy it.
exactly.
You're
I
not
just
as long
can't
as you're not hurting anybody. I mean,
need to find my people.
yeah,
I need to find my
exactly.
poker watching people.
I
Because
mean,
I've tried, like, I go on and I've done both things. I've taken the headset, live streamed it while I played poker, and nobody wants to watch me play poker. And then I've done the other where I've watched them play poker and I announce the game, and nobody wants to watch me announce the game. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like for a while, when like the whole World Series of Poker was taken off on TV and everybody was, even then I tried. Like I would try watching it, and I'd have fun with it because I'd be like talking shit the entire time. Like, yeah, notice how this gal, she doesn't have really a strong hand, but she's got a fantastic rack, and that's probably
yeah.
in favor. I mean, really,
Well,
like when the fucking celebrity things and like, Kim Kardashian shows up, but she's wearing sunglasses, but they're fucking reflective so you can see her cards. And I'm like, this broad.
well, in 2004, when it all popped off, because this is how poker became big, the NHL went on strike. ESPN
I remember
had
that.
paid the NHL all this money to broadcast games. They couldn't because they were on strike. So here they had the World Series of Poker, and they started putting it on every night, and people started watching it, and then they started playing. That's how I started playing. Started playing online, and then I went to because I live close to Atlantic City in New Jersey. Went to Atlantic City and played some tournaments down there, and started my own home tournament where we used to play once a month, get 24 people, 3 tables, and we
Yeah.
would play, once a month.
I used to play quite a bit of poker. Again, when I was single. I mean, it's amazing how much that changes a lot.
That marriage shit always ruins everybody's fun.
Throwing a monkey wrench into this shit. But when I before I moved to Illinois, when I was living in Wisconsin, I was living in Madison, and it was right around the time the movie Rounders came out. And
Love that. Oh my God, love that
that
movie.
that was huge in a college town. Like all these kids all of a sudden all thought they were, Texas Hold'em experts.
Right. Oh, well, either worm
Yeah, everybody
or
thought they were worm. It's like, no, you're not a mechanic. You're not good with cards. Now, me, I used to I was into a lot of really weird shit when I was growing up. And like I could do card tricks and like little low scale magic, and I'm very good at shuffling. Let's put it that way. Not that I don't cheat because it takes all the fun out of it as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't play cards based on what's in my hand. I play based on what's in everybody else's hands because
yeah,
that's the fun of
can
it.
you
Reading
can.
and trying to looking for tells. But I want to, and my friends and I, we would host poker games like and make our rent, and and
Yeah.
because
Or lose it.
or lose it. Some, I mean,
Yeah.
but we were kind of the house though because we were the guys hosting. So
Hmm.
and we would, since we were living in a college town, get buy-ins from other people, and oh yeah, you're not part of the circle. It's like we all know each other. We all play with each other. Fine, you're the odd guy out. We're all trying to take your money. You know,
Hmm.
taking each other's money, that's incidental, but taking your money is what counts because it
Right.
all goes back into the kitty. So it's all good. And
We had a magician. We had a magician, like a real magician, come play with us, and I wouldn't let him deal. I said, "You're not dealing." He
good
goes, "What do you
call.
mean?" I said, "No, because everybody would shuffle and deal, right?" And we came to him. I said, "No, no.
I don't
He
know.
every time it's your turn, he deals." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look, I can't trust you. You do
You play
card
with
tricks."
cards for fun. That's
Yes, I
yeah,
said, "No, I can't trust you. I don't know what you can do and what you can't do.
yeah.
So you don't deal."
I
And
don't know you.
yeah,
I don't
and
know
he's
you,
like,
but I know what you can do, you son of a
"Yeah."
bitch.
He said, "Okay, fine," but he would come and play, and we would never let him deal.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't, I wasn't like great, like, oh here, let me show you some card tricks here. But I mean, I could do a couple tricks, but they were more like mathematical than they were freaking like any particular real skill. But like I said, I'm really good at shuffling, and that's not that I necessarily deal the best hands out of shuffling, but I mean, like I could do the double flares and all that other fun stuff. I can cut the deck one handed, or I used to. Probably can't do it anymore because arthritis is a bitch. But
I got
that's
big
the other
soft
thing.
fingers. Love it.
I didn't know chefs get carpal tunnel a lot, um, until I'd already like kind of committed, and then one of the chefs I like learned from under school, I run into him and he's got double casts. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's yeah, I got carpal tunnel surgery. I'm like, he's like a lot of chefs get that. I'm like, I don't like this.
I dated a girl one time, and her son-in-law was a dealer at one of the casinos. So one night I said, I said, show me how you shuffle because I can never get that shuffle down. So he started teaching me, and he says, those big sausage fingers are yours. He says, that's not really going to help. He says, you're not going to be that good at this because of the way they do it. But you ever see little like women do it?
Oh yeah,
They're amazing.
and it's like, okay, I can't. I mean, like I said, I'm not terrible, but that was because of years of like building manual dexterity because
Right.
I wanted to be good at it. And part of the thing is I'm one of those people, if I can't be good at something, I don't just, oh well, fuck it, I'm not good at that. I'm like, oh no. I mean,
Well, I'm such a
maybe not so much now, but especially when I was younger, I was such a fucking hardhead. I'm like, oh no, you tell me I can't do this. Fuck you. I'm gonna figure it out.
yeah. I have a poker table here, right? And well, when we would play, I was never good at throwing cards. Like I could shuffle, but I wanted to be good at throwing them. You see them go, pew, 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 pew. They
Yeah.
throw them around the table.
They,
So
oh man.
I would set up 8 shot glasses at night, and I would just sit there and go pew, 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 and try to throw them around, and you throw them off the table, and just throw them short, throw one over. Oh my god, when you're dealing and you throw
What's
over a
up?
card,
Yeah.
and then you got to redeal, and somebody had like 2 queens, they're like, "What the hell? I've been waiting
God
for a
damn
hand
it.
on.
I had pocket aces, you son of a bitch.
I'm not giving these back."
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh no, those were supposed to go to him.
Yeah,
But yeah, I like I said, that's literally the only reason I could do like the one-handed cut and stuff like that was just years of like, son of a bitch. And the first time I got it, where I flipped like the middle section of the cards out and folded it over on the top. I'm like,
yeah.
nobody's here. I'm like, 'cause I was sitting by myself in my shitty apartment with a beer in front of me, a cigarette hanging out of the corner of my mouth, playing with a deck of cards. And that's when I lived with my brothers. They would talk shit. They'd be like, "Are you doing that again?" I'm like, "Shut the fuck up! Don't you? Shouldn't you be looking for a job?"
The same way when you riff the chips, you know how they put 2 piles and they just bring their fingers up and they
Oh
fold
yeah,
together.
I can't do that
I
either.
can't do that. I've tried. I
That
started with 2. I got up to
sucks.
3,
Yeah,
4. I can't. If I do 4, they're all over the table. I
yeah.
can't.
At our we have a annual company meeting thing, and they did. It's always like, here's the meeting, here's dinner, and then they do like some fun activity kind of thing after the meeting's officially over. And this year they did casino night, and it was I my night started out a little rough because I got out of my comfort zone, and I was like, well, I've never really been good at roulette. Let me go play some roulette. Because a few years ago, the table, all the people that won at the table on the roulette table just won shit tons of tickets. Part of it turns out it was that particular roulette dealer was kind of a dipshit. But I mean that because they do like you win tickets, you cash in your chips, you get tickets, you put the tickets in different prize drawings. And we had one girl who had literally been with the company like maybe 6 weeks, and she won 80% of the fucking prizes because she won so many tickets on roulette. She just stuffed all the boxes. And I was like, "You've been with the company like 3 days. You won everything. Your ass is getting jumped in the parking lot." No, I'm like, well,
They have.
you can give me that VR headset and we'll call it even.
They have. If you go to YouTube, they have guys there that give you systems on how to play roulette. Like there's different. You take a certain amount of money and you bet this certain thing, and you can
Yeah.
and if you lose, then you do this, and if you win 3 times, then you bring it back, and It's a whole thing, and there's not just one. There's multiple systems that you can go
I
and
believe it.
watch them play. So back to the VR headset, the place where you play poker. It's an online casino. You can play craps, you can play roulette, you can play poker. They got slot machines. I got a story, but okay. So
Every
anyhow, so the
kid
roulette.
actually.
I went to this roulette. I went to the roulette, and I would start doing using their systems, and a lot of them would work. You wouldn't win a lot, but you know what it was? This is a degenerate's way of being able to pay your like buy food and shit. Like you could take $50 and 6 times out of 10, you would make enough money. You would make like $300, and then once you made 300, you stop. You quit. That's one of the problems with people that play, gamble all the time. They can't quit. So back to VR. So in the VR, they have a slot machine thing, and they started this thing. It was called Rocket something. Where this is what happened. This is the game. This rocket launches and it starts going 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. And the part of the game is you have to hit stop before it explodes.
Oh, jeez. So how
Okay.
greedy are you?
I'll tell you how greedy I was. So from playing poker online, over the amount of time that I was playing poker, I got my bankroll from like $100,000 up to 60 million. So I had 60 million. Every time I say that, I said, yeah, I go 60 million in chips. They go, real chips? No, no,
Oh,
stupid. If I had 60 million in chips, would I be living like this?
right?
So the one day they had this, it's called Rocket Rush. So this thing goes up. So everybody starts playing it. So here I think I'm playing 35,000 each time it goes up. And I'm not. I'm playing 35 million.
Oh,
And I don't realize I'm playing 35 million. So I don't want to lose it. So I go, it's going up. I get to 3, stop. It gets up to 3, stop. Gets up to 3, stop. So I look in my bank, my bankroll, and I'm up over like $170 million in my account. I go, what the hell happened? How did I do that? So then I go, oh, this Rocket Rush, this is easy. I can make a lot of money. So then I run it up to almost 200 million in my account playing Rocket Rush. And then that thing caught on to what I was doing. And it would start to go.
Blowing up at 2.
I went from 200 million down to 11 million. I
Jeez.
lost 11. I lost 180 million dollars in fake chips. But I was real sick. Like I had real like anxiety. I was like, I spent all this time running my bankroll up. I was playing in the big games. I was playing in the big VR games where you played for real, like a ton of play money. I was in those games, Aaron. I was sitting at the 5 million tournament, 5 million buy-in tournament, playing with the big guys.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that anymore because
Yeah.
of rock.
It just yeah, it gets it's you chase that rush. It is what it is.
It is, yeah. So I think the last time I left,
That's
last
why
time
I
I
never
played,
stay out of the casinos these days.
yeah, last time I went on, I think I had like I ran it back up to like $80 million. So I have 80 million in play chips somewhere in the interwebs on a VR game that I can't play because the right hand controller doesn't work.
That's a shame. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. That's the last thing I need is another thing to hold my
Another vice.
another vice, if you will. Yes, I because I know me. Like there was a phase, particularly right after I moved here, because when I moved in with my mom and my stepdad, within like I don't know 12 minutes from their house, there were 3 different casinos.
Okay.
And they're riverboat casinos, and that was when they used to have to actually put out on the river for like an hour every so
Is
often.
this in Indiana?
Illinois.
Illinois. Okay. Because I went to Gary, Indiana.
The
I
ones
won
in
a
Indiana are different too, but
Yeah, I went to I won a poker buy into a tournament in Gary, Indiana. They gave me hotel buy-in and I forget a meal stipend. All I had to do was get there. So I flew into Chicago and then
drove to Gary.
drove to Gary and spent a weekend playing poker there.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much all there is to do in Gary. So,
Well, we never left the boat. I mean,
yeah, that was probably the right.
here, whatever it was, the floating thing.
And that's the thing. As long as it's on the water, that's what counts. So
Mhm.
that's how they change it here now too. Where like the casinos don't actually put out off the pier anymore; they're just on the river. and like they've got these really nice buildings attached to them now, and I'm like, fuck it, whatever. But yeah, when I first moved down here, I didn't know anybody. I didn't really have a social circle. Didn't have any friends. I had the bunch of degenerates I worked with because I got a job 2 days after I moved to Illinois. Like my mom had met the owner of this restaurant and mentioned that her son was coming to Illinois and he wanted to be a chef. And the guy was like, "Oh, well, tell him to come by and see. We're always looking for cooks." And so I showed up and I was like, "Hey, my mom said you guys are always looking for cooks and um." I've actually eaten at this restaurant before. The food's pretty good. Yeah. So you hiring or what? The guy was like, "Can you cook?" I'm like, "I've been doing it since I was 14." They're like, "All right, you're hired." And like, you know, 5 months later, I was running the place. So it wasn't necessarily a bad call, but it was definitely a weird situation. The guy who was the head chef got himself arrested, and the owner's like, "Hey, Aaron, you're pretty on the stick. You want to take over?" Like,
Yeah, you're up. So we
like,
can bail out the other chef.
all
Yes.
right. Well, no, it wouldn't have been so bad, except he got picked up for like a DUI, and he had an 8 ball on him. So it was like, yeah, no, you're in big boy trouble now. So, but like I said, no judgment. It happens. He was young and stupid too. We were all young and stupid back then. But yeah. So like I said, I didn't really know anybody, and I didn't have much of a social circle, but I liked playing poker, so I would go to the boat after I got off of work and hang out there until 2 or 3 in the morning, and then go back home and take a power nap, and then go to school. And
The thing,
I
yeah,
did that for months.
the thing with VR poker, I don't know if this would work for you now because you're married. So you're sitting in somewhere, wherever you're sitting in your house. You got these goggles on and two controllers in your hand. And you're picking up cards, you're looking at your cards, you're picking up chips, you're throwing them in, and you're talking to the people at the table. And your wife would be going, "What? What'd you huh?" And you're
Yeah, I
like,
was
"No,
saying, she would be trying to talk to me. What'd you
uh,
say?
yeah, no,
Nothing.
no,
Not
sorry,
you.
not you, you."
No,
But
actually, I wish I could say she's not used to that, but it'll happen every once in a while. I'll because I mean I like to we spend time together so she doesn't feel like I'm just some asshole that hangs out with people on the internet. But we have very different taste in like entertainment and stuff like that. I mean, we watch some of the same stuff together. Like, we watched Yellowstone and shit like that. But a lot of the stuff she likes to watch, I'm just like, that's fucking garbage. I'm not ugh. So she'll be watching her shows and I'll be dicking around on my phone or whatever. I mean, I'm still in the room, I'm still semi present. But then all of a sudden I'll catch myself like, you dumb motherfucker, what is wrong with what'd you say? No, no, no,
no,
no, no,
nothing.
babe. I'm
All right, so I don't
talking
know if
shit on
you.
Twitter again.
I'll give you a show to watch that I think was amazing. It just ended, but if you go back, you can go on demand and watch it. It's on CBS. It's called Matlock, and it has Kathy
Oh
Bates in
yeah,
it.
I was actually that's on my list because I liked the original Matlock. So I was
It,
like,
if you think it's like the original Matlock, it's not. It's
okay,
better. It's better. And
okay,
yeah,
I'm
like when you
intrigued.
start watching it, you're like,
I like Kathy Bates too. So
she does an amazing job in this. The all the actors in this are great. The story keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's one of those where you're like, I can't go to bed. I gotta see what happens next. That's
okay,
how I
yeah,
watch Dexter.
I'll throw it in the queue because
Thank you.
that sounds that yeah no because like I said I saw a commercial for it the other day and I was like no shit and I was
It's
kind of
good.
hey hon you think we should watch that and she's like maybe I'm like okay you want to watch some more Lifetime movies about
Oh,
brave women that overcome their trials and tribulations and she
it
was
was
watching something earlier today because like I said, we did a lot of shit around the house yesterday, and so she's I mean, fuck, we're not exactly spring chickens anymore, so she's just like, oh, my legs hurt, my back hurts, I'm gonna sit on the couch and watch some movies, and I'm like, you know what, babe, you do that, and I was like, I started dinner at like 9 o'clock this morning, and because I did a slow roasted, I did Japanese barbecue pulled pork, so it was
how is that done?
carefully.
No, no. I mean, what like what do you smoke it? Do you put it in a? pot? Do you put it
Yeah,
in a
crock pot would have worked. I did it in the oven just because I didn't want to have to be paying attention to it, basically. Because I bought a couple pork butts were on sale, um, and I pulled it out of the freezer because they were on sale because it's like, hey, yeah, use this within the next 2 days or freeze it, because that's how the grocery stores do it. But it was 90 cents a pound, so fuck yeah.
okay?
I got a chest freezer, 90 cents a pound. I'm stocking up, so I bought a couple, and a little while back I made a post about this. I bought the British knives that don't have a tip on them. They're like blunted knives that they're
Okay.
selling in the UK now because of all the stabbings that have been going on. They're like,
Okay.
this is our solution. It's a knife you can't stab somebody with. And I was like, that's fucking dumb.
Right. So you slash them now.
You can still
Instead of
slash.
doing this, you do this.
They still have an edge on them, but I was like, I just because I couldn't help myself, I had to go down that rabbit hole because there was like it popped up in my Twitter or my X feed that like an ad like UK because I had looked into it when I heard about it, and so of course the algorithm knows everything. They're like, hey, look, here's these knives you were talking about on Amazon, check them out. And so I was, fuck it, what's the harm? Let me go see what they look like. And they got like a four knife set, and it was like $30. I'm like, okay, for $30, you're not. It's not like you're getting some real high end fancy knives, but for a joke, I'll spend $30. So I was like, I'm gonna prove that this is fucking stupid. I'm gonna buy these knives, and so I ordered them, and then like a week later, the tariffs kicked in, so I actually got them just ahead of the price going up. I was like, nice, and they showed up like last week, and I said, all right, I'm gonna start stabbing shit with these things just to prove a point. I'm gonna record it. I'm gonna make a. I don't like I never really got too into the video stuff. Like I have a TikTok. I don't make TikToks. I don't do video streaming. And honestly, it all comes down to one really simple factor. I'm fucking lazy, and
Okay.
editing video seems like a lot of work.
Don't edit it. Just me and Duchess,
Well,
we spoke
that's
for
what's
2 hours.
going on with this one. I'm like this. This is going to be the most involved project I've ever done outside of like a couple of the guest episodes I had that were like 4 hours that I had to cut down into something consumable. Um, so, but generally, I when I got into the whole podcasting thing because I was laid off and I had nothing but time. And so I decided really early on, I'm like, it's not like this is a face that's going to draw in a lot of crowd. I don't, and I was probably 100 pounds heavier back then too. So I was like, yeah, I don't need to be on camera. And
I know how you feel.
yeah. And so I said, I'll just do the audio thing, and that way I don't have to buy a bunch of fancy equipment and shit. Because I started this podcast with literally, a $35 microphone combo set off of Amazon that Shauna bought me for my birthday because she was like, you've been talking about doing a podcast forever. Just shut up and do it and stop driving me crazy. Because that was the other thing. It was COVID. We were both laid off. Well, she had actually just had knee surgery, so she was laid up and I was laid off. And when they were like, "Oh yeah, it'll be just 2 to 3 weeks," and I was like, "That's perfect because my wife's going in for surgery. I can stay home and take care of her." And then like 6 months later, she was like, "I swear to God, if you don't find somebody else to talk to, I'm gonna fucking kill you in your sleep." I was like, "Okay, that's fair. I can understand that. That's how the podcast got started."
It's so easy to start now. When I started in 2012, you needed a mixer and you had to mix minus if you're bringing somebody in. And if
Yeah.
they came in on Skype, you had to put your channel to the left and theirs to the right to record it. So you could only hear them out of one ear. And it was a real science project. Now you just plug a thing in and go to a Zoom and hit record
Oh yeah,
and you're
it's
podcasting basically.
definitely gotten simpler because, like I said, when I say I've been talking about it for a while, I had the initial. I almost started it in 2014. So, so I almost did it. I had it pop up on my Facebook memories thing one day a little while back where it's like, hey, you remember when you said this? And it was like, hey guys, I'm thinking about and it was a memory from 2014. I said, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Here's like four names I'm kicking around. None of them were I had to say it, but one of them was actually pretty close. One of them was it had to be said, and I was like, so even back then I was in the same vein. And it all started because I had a bunch of my buddies that were, a couple of them were in like broadcasting, and they at one point when I was still trying to decide before I went decide to go to culinary school, I almost went to broadcast school instead because I had a lot of people like, dude, you got a great voice for radio. You should do this. You should do that. And I'm like, well, I've always been told I have a face for radio, but I suppose.
That's the way I looked at it too. I never wanted to do video. I never wanted to do video because of the same thing. I don't have a face for radio. I don't have a face for live streaming. Not at all.
I mean,
I think that's what holdbacks. I think that's what holdbacks our podcast is that they take a look at me and they go, "Look at this fat old gray boomer. Why do I want to listen to him?"
Honestly, at this point, I think it's actually. First off, I think you're selling yourself short. Not to be sugary, but
I appreciate that.
you're
but
not
thank
that
you.
bad looking. I've seen worse. But
Okay.
honestly, in a lot of ways, I don't think it really matters as much as people think it. I mean, maybe
Oh no, it
back in
does.
the day, because I mean, like there are some really fucked up looking people out there that have no inhibitions about being like, "Hey, world, look at me." So I think the dynamic has shifted a little bit in terms of what's acceptable, because like I said, I mean, you got these people that look like their cousins, their parents were first cousins. They got a family fucking wreath, and they're out there making TikToks every day themselves, like, I'm here to help you, and they just, and it's like they're out there, they're proud, they're fucking inbred, they're stupid, and they have
But
no shame.
how much of an audience do they really have? Unless they're being laughed at.
I was gonna say there's a lot of those like you can't look away from an accident situations. I think it's like
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna feel bad about myself when I'm done, but
okay, but I have a
that's
thing
shame
that
jerk.
there's a formula. The fatter and uglier you are, the funnier you have to be.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So if you're just, if you're really fat and ugly, and if you're funny, like if you're Ralphie May funny, you can be fat.
Yeah, you can be fat if you're Ralphie May. That's very
Right.
true.
Yeah.
Although on the other side of that coin, I think some of the shit that came out of Ralphie May's mouth, he got away with it because he was fat.
Okay. And then there's John Panette. John Panette, funny,
Yeah,
fat.
funny, fat.
John
Well,
Candy.
he lost a bunch of weight. Now I don't know. He's not as funny
He's
anymore.
dead.
Well, I mean, amendment. Yes, he's dead now. When he died
Yes.
last year, wasn't it, or a year and a half ago?
I don't remember. Who was the
Relatively
other
recently.
fat, funny
Before he
stand-up?
went tits up, he lost a bunch of weight. I saw some clips of him, and I'm like, what the? He had the fucking like vagina neck, and I was just
This. He's got this. Look.
like,
Yes.
yes, we have this. But I mean, he had like where it was all loose and kind of,
Yeah, the gobbler. It's
Yeah.
the gobbler.
And it was just, I was like, man, bro looks rough. And then he died shortly thereafter.
Right. John Goodman. John Goodman looked healthy fat.
Yeah.
Now that he's thin, he looks frail.
He's got fucking cancer.
Oh, he does?
Well, no, I said he looks like he has cancer.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah. He
don't
definitely.
He does, but he looks like shit.
Yeah, he looks terrible. He looks like a deflated bulldog.
Yeah, and it's brutal, and it's
And I got to be honest with you, I see a little bit of slippage. Don't get me wrong. I know he's an actor and all that, but when you see him in Roseanne now, well, I guess they just ended it. I didn't watch the Connors.
yeah.
Once they fired Roseanne, I was like, this show shit.
Yeah.
But I see clips every once in a while, and he looks a little slurry. He's got like a little Biden in him right now.
A little bit, yeah. He's the
Mhm.
last I've same thing. I stopped watching it when they booted. I'm like, you can't take Roseanne off of Roseanne.
Right. It's dumb.
No, it's the Connors. There's a reason the show was called Roseanne.
Right.
But
And then I'm mad at that the one that's on the talk, the lesbian, the black hair lesbian.
uh
Her Sarah Gilbert.
Sarah Gilbert. I'm
Sarah Gilbert.
like Darlene, but no, the fuck's her real name? Yeah.
So she here's Roseanne, gives her start, it brings her back, and she goes and just basically just dishes her, doesn't even stay in her corner. Every once in a while, somebody does something stupid, you say, listen, I don't agree with what she said, but I love her. She gave me a great spot. I know she's a really good person. She fucked up. You know what? Everybody fucks up, and that's why they put erasers on pencils. There's something you do. You don't just go out there and bury her like a cat turd. Fuck her and everything she does.
It's like, and there's so many people out there. Like, when did loyalty stop being okay? Like, oh no, well, you did something bad. I must completely distance myself from you so the mob knows that I'm not like you. I'm like, no, you motherfucker. I have some brain dead motherfucking friends that I will defend to the death because they were good people. They might have done or said something fucking stupid. I have a friend, and I without naming him fully, he has put himself in a position of being just like, thank God I'm not really one of those subscribes to the woke ideology kind of people, because he would be freaking just, you know, toxic. Like, oh, you know him? No, 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 you can't be in this life if you know him. And I'm like, see, here's
I
the
can't get it. Is he woke or is he anti woke?
oh, he's very much like, he was kind of leftist, but
Okay.
but he had the audacity. And here's the thing too, um, flaming homosexual. Like,
Doesn't make you a bad guy.
no, it doesn't make you a bad guy at all. But I'm
Right.
saying by the numbers, they should be in on his side, you know.
Okay.
And
Well,
he,
it depends. If you
well,
don't
yeah,
have the ideology, then no matter if you check with the boxes, if you're on the other side, then you're still a white
but that's the
supremacist.
thing though. He checks 90% of the boxes. Very
But if
liberal, very, like I said, extremely like next level gay. Does not subscribe to the LMNOP part of the movement. He is one of those like, get your fucking pedophilia out of my gayness.
right, he's a
He's
LGB.
LGB. He is not on board with
Right.
the rest of that shit.
Yeah, they tried to tag along, and then what
Yeah,
happened was their
that's pretty much what
version.
he said. He's like, you guys are hijacking something we actually, we used to get the shit kicked out of us over this, and you're mad that you're not getting your made up words acknowledged. I can't stand you. And
Right.
and again, this is in Chicago. This is,
Mhm.
it's, woke city, and people were ready to crucify this poor guy. And I'm like, you know what? No, that's still my homie. He's still a good dude. He gives to charity. He does good things. He does what's right. We don't agree on a lot of politics. We don't agree on a lot. We don't have a stance on a lot of things but he's a good person. Y'all are pieces of shit for trying to ostracize him because he said little boys can be gay without being little girls trapped in a boy's body. I mean, and that was his whole argument, was if I would have been like, if I would have been growing up in today's world, they would have tried to transition me because I didn't feel like a boy growing up. And it took me a while to realize I just happened to be gay, not
Well,
born in the wrong body.
again, I say I believe that there is a very small portion of the trans population that is actually trans.
Oh yeah, no, it's like, but
That
it's,
being said, out of all the trans going on, 1% is actually an issue that should be treated by them transitioning.
yeah.
The other 99% is a fetish, and they they want to be out and proud, and they want to be ridiculed so that they can be a victim.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that get their fucking jollies off on that victim mentality horseshit. Okay,
It,
now here comes the ranting.
about fucking time.
Well, I know that's what the people are here for. They don't want to hear us talking about VR headsets and playing poker.
And dogs.
Dog.
Get to the gays.
Get to the fucking get to the hate. Where's the rage? Yeah. I don't come here for this happy dappy bullshit. I want my blood pressure to go up. I want to be able to,
Right.
it is what it is. But yeah, ultimately, there are a whole lot of motherfuckers out there that are very low tier with very high tier expectations. And when you don't actually have any accomplishments or anything under your belt that makes you unique and special, it's real easy to go, hey, guess what? I'm a Caesar. I identify as a unicorn, and I fuck pudding on the weekends. Celebrate me.
Yeah. No.
No. You need to be beaten with a hose until you start acting like a grown up.
Right.
And
I mean,
that's my hot take. I am all in favor of bringing back whooping people with hoses, or if you put an orange in a tube sock, that works really well too. And then
shock collar.
yeah, the thing about
Not
those,
a fair-
there's a significant portion of the population that doesn't react well to being electrocuted. Like I'm one of
Yeah.
them. I've been electrocuted so many fucking times.
Mm.
Like I'm not an electrician, but I have a lot of fucking loose wires. So, and I'm saying that as a joke, but I like again back to being one of those like kind of weird kids that was into a little bit of everything when I was growing up. I spent some time in the theater as a child or a teenager, and I'd be climbing around on the rafters. And my high school auditorium was built in like the 50s, so there was a lot of connections that hadn't been updated since the building was built. And like there would be shorts and arcs, and you'd go to move a spotlight and get fried, and I'd be
Yeah,
like,
not fun.
"Oh shit, that was only 120. I'm good." And by the time I was like an actual adult, I've been tased. Um,
Oh, I
and
never had the pleasure.
yeah, I have a family member who thought it was funny to shoot me in the back with a taser. Um, and I didn't drop, but I got really, really grumpy. And
Yeah,
and I also got hit with a couple of those like the little, the ones you and me could buy that are like just the little prongs and you go up and zap somebody. I
they still hurt.
Oh, they tingle, that's for sure. Problem is like the first time I got hit with one of those things was on a New Year's Eve at a party. A bunch of us were drinking in this guy's garage, and somebody busted out a taser. And being a bunch of dumbass teenagers, our idea was, all right, well, here's the game. You got to take a shot while you're getting tased. And so we were doing that, and I don't remember everything that happened. I remember we all had to scatter because the cops showed up, uh,
Okay,
which was kind of funny because when I was in high school, I had a minivan because that was what I bought.
could afford. Yeah.
I could afford exactly. And so like, but nobody goes, "Hey, those teenagers are gonna escape in that minivan." So I got in my car, drove like 2 blocks away, pulled over, put it in park, and then put the seat down and crawled in the back and went to sleep and slept it off. I remember running. I don't remember like getting in the car or anything, but I remember waking up and I had like down my forearm the pairs of like burn marks from the taser probes because apparently I did it like a half a dozen times where I was getting zapped and taking a shot. So yeah, so that was fun. And then, like I said, by the time I had my family member who shot me with an actual like police issue taser, the one where when you actually discharge it, you have to take it to go get it reloaded,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to log it. And he said it was just an accidental discharge. He's like, yeah, I shot the darts into my ceiling, and, and no, he shot him.
That dog won't shit on the rug anymore. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
I got a bit squat.
yeah, but yeah, that was when I found out I'm one of those guys. Apparently, you got to get hit twice before I go down. So,
You think that kid will? You think that kid won't take the trash out next time? You better believe he will.
oh yeah, little son of a bitch. Yeah, no, and I mean, that's constructive parenting. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, but so that being said, I feel like the shot collars wouldn't really work real well. Although speaking of shot collars, it was kind of funny. My mother, God bless her, dear sweet tiny little woman. She's like 4'9". She's just a little tiny little thing. And as much as I talk, and I know I'm very verbose, that's because I'm compensating. Because when I was a kid, I couldn't get a word in edgewise because she talks way more than me. And she always used to say, "Well, I have this dream that I'll someday win the big lottery and I can buy 5 houses so all the kids can live close to each other. We can all live in the same neighborhood and it'd be great. And we could pay for everything and you guys could just come live here with the family and blah blah blah." And I'm like, I don't, Mom, I love you. I really don't know if I want to live down the street from you.
Right.
Like right now, she lives in Arkansas. I love my mom dearly. I really do, but 9 hours is a good distance. And so she was like, "Oh well, no, it just I'll get one of those shot collars, and then if I'm coming by the house too much, you guys can just have the button by the door." I'm like, "That's that's kind of funny, but fucking horrible. What do you think of your children that we want to shock you with a dog collar?" Yeah, there's
Hey,
a reason I turned up.
why do you need this thing charged? What discharge it? Well, the wife doesn't put the toilet paper over. She's an under person. And you know what? We had to straighten her
Oh,
out here.
not guilty. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's yeah. No,
Oh, okay.
the paper
Fine.
under the paper goes over. Everybody knows that it's in the
Right.
patent. Damn
Yeah.
it.
So I just make a correction. She won't do that anymore.
She
Um,
learned. I, t-
Aaron, why does this thing have to be recharged? Well, she put mayonnaise on my sandwich one too many times. How many times you got to tell her?
I told her I don't like it cut diagonally. That makes me
Right,
uncomfortable.
right. You
Yeah,
know,
I'd be getting some visits from the people. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, you can't punch them anymore. They go to the hospital with that black eye. It's evidence.
Yeah, no, and nobody believes it when they say they walked into a doorknob.
Right. Not
Now,
anymore.
funny story. Speaking of domestic abuse, um, yeah, how do you segue into that without it sounding terrible? A few years back, like Shauna legitimately hit herself in the face with a door. I don't remember how or why. I wasn't even fucking home when it happened, right? Gave herself a fucking shiner, like a really nice fucking black eye. Proceeded to go to work and with a black eye, I'm all fucked up looking. Everybody she worked with knew me, had met me, seen me. Like, oh, look at that big fucking burly son of a bitch. And so they're talking, yeah, is everything okay? You know, are
Are you
you all
everything
right?
okay at home?
Do we need to call somebody? Anything? And Sean would be like, look, I know what it looks like. Aaron would never put his hands on me in a violent manner. He's not that kind of guy. He's not going to hit me. I had an accident. I dropped something, hit myself in the face. It was totally, he wasn't even home. He was in Chicago at the time. And da, 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 da.
Like OJ?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that's the thing is I legitimately, it's when I was working in Chicago and I would sometimes have to stay overnight because I'd be at a function until fucking 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not driving back home just to come back to the office at 7 a.m. So, and the place I was working at the time, we actually managed a boutique hotel. So it was literally, I didn't even have to pay for the room. I just would, what room's open? Give me the keys. And I would go up and take a nap for a couple hours and then housekeeping would be pissed because they'd have to come reset the room because Aaron wanted to go to sleep. And but yeah, so I was in Chicago. I came home. It looked like somebody kicked her ass. So I'm like, the first thing I said, I'm like, what happened? Who kicked your ass, dude? Who do I got to kill? She's
Right.
like, oh no, I hit myself in the face and I got a black eye. I'm like, and I looked at her and went, nobody's gonna fucking believe that.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
I'm like, the cops are coming. Somebody's
Right.
gonna think they're helping.
Telling
And
you right now, if I have to go to jail, you're getting another black eye. You're going to get the other one's going to be black too.
I'm gonna make a match. If I'm going to jail for beating a wife, it's not gonna be a lie.
Right.
And
Damn it.
it's kind of like when I had the child abuse call on. That was fun too, which has also happened. But no, I mean,
They called on you?
I got yeah, it was no, but the funny thing was Shauna's answer when people were like, "Are you sure it's not your husband didn't do that?" And she'd be like, "If he put his hands on me like that, I'd light him on fire in his fucking sleep." Like, and then people would talk to me like, "Oh, dude, if I hit her, she'd light me on fire in my fucking sleep." And they're like, "Was that a prompt? Did she tell you to say that?" And I'm like, "No, that's just what she would do. She thinks The Burning Bed is an instructional film."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was years ago when my kid was in like third grade, right? And this was when we moved to Wisconsin because I took a job at the college in Milwaukee, and so he didn't know anybody, and he's always been kind of quiet and kind of not a real big like, hey, look at me kind of kid. So uh, the counselor, I guess, called him into the office because he was kind of screwing off, not paying attention in class, and just like not doing the work. And he didn't want to be there. He wanted to move back to Illinois, and so the counselor's talking to him and asking, well, is everything okay? Is what's going on at home? Blah 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 blah. Is what trying to figure out if something's wrong. Well, apparently, because my kid is also a wonderful guy, and thankfully he mostly grew out of his klutziness. But when he was little, that motherfucker hurt himself all the time, and it was mostly because he wasn't paying attention. Like we got him a little electric dirt bike one year for Christmas, and he proceeded to drive it into the side of his mom's car and like launch himself off over the handlebars, and he ran into a couple of trees and shit because he would be like looking back over, hey, you're not watching, wham. So we moved to Wisconsin, and we're moving into our apartment, and we're unloading the truck, and I find this fucking pogo stick that I told him to throw out before we moved because like the little foot on it was gone. So it was just a metal spike that stuck out of the bottom of the pogo stick. So I took it. I found it in the moving truck. I threw it in the fucking dumpster at the apartment we moved into. He saw me do it and went and fished it out of the fucking dumpster and proceeded to start pogo sticking around the parking lot of our new apartment on a pogo stick that didn't have a foot on it. It was just a steel spike on blacktop. He managed to get about 4 good bounces in before the fucking foot kicked out from under him, and he landed on his fucking back, rang his own bell. We took him to the hospital because I was worried he had a concussion. I'm like, I think he concussed himself. We're going to the fucking ER. But he didn't. He just rocked his own bell, and he was fine. So $750 later, they let us go home. And so a few days later, he's riding his bike, rides into a fucking tree, hits himself in the face with a tree branch. So he's all fucked up, and he's in class and looking like somebody kicked the shit out of him. And so he doesn't want to be there. He's all mad at me because I made us move to take this job. Is everything all right? Well, my dad hit me.
Oh, Jesus.
Really? Yeah, with a bat.
With a bat?
Yeah, with a bat. And so she's looking at him and it's like, that doesn't look like you got hit with a bat. And it's like, do you have any other bruises anywhere? No. So your dad hit you in the face with the bat. Well, we're gonna have to call the police. Well, no, it wasn't really a bat. And she said the story kept changing as because I did get called into the school, and so I get a phone call while I'm at work. I'm 45 miles away at where I'm working, and like, yeah, we need you to come in and talk to the counselor at the school. Da 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 da. I'm like, what do you do now? Oh, I'm like, is this like urgent or can we schedule for another? Like, yeah, we'd prefer you come like now. Fuck, it's like noon. So I go to the manager of the building with me that I work with, and I'm like, look, my kid's school called. I got to go to the school. Like right now. They were like, yeah, we need you to come here now. I don't know what's going on. I got to go. Like, is your kid okay? I'm like, I think so. They didn't say it was. They said he was fine, but I needed to come in. And he's like, that's not good. I'm like, yeah, I'm not happy. I get down there and I'm talking to the counselor. He's like, yeah, Alex told us that you hit him with a bat. Like, I said, I can count the number of times I've spanked that kid on one hand. And you're like, well, yeah, we didn't think it looked like he was abused. He doesn't show any of the classic signs of being abused. And honestly, looking at you, I'm pretty sure if you hit him with a bat, there'd be a lot more damage than the scrape on the side of his face. I'm like, he ran into a tree on his fucking bike. And they're like, yeah, no, but when we told him we were gonna have to call the police and get the police involved, he changed his story several times. I'm like, I have never hit that kid with a bat. I've never hit him with yet. I was like, if you're gonna call the cops, I need 5 minutes to make him not a liar. And she's kind of like, yeah, I kind of figured that was the case. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm really not worried that he's abused. He doesn't seem abused in any way, shape, or form. It seems like he's just not paying attention. I said, well, to be honest, he wants to move back to Illinois. He doesn't want to be here. So that's why he's acting out. I can tell you that. I don't have a degree in child psychology, but I know a shithead kid when I meet one. And not that my kid's a shithead. He's a great kid, but he was not happy with us being there and he wanted to go home. So I was like, that's what it is. He's either going to have to get used to the situation or whatever. But I mean, this is where we are. This is where my job is, and he's going to have to deal with it. They're like, yeah, now speaking of your job, since you're here, I was wondering, we've got career day coming up in 2 weeks, and we would really like it if you would come in and do a presentation on being a chef. Like,
no.
And I went, if I say no, are you calling the cops?
Nope.
And she goes, well, I'm not saying I'm going to call the cops. I'm just saying it would really go a long way to help make a good impression of you. I'm like, I'll come in and do the career day. Why are you having career days with 3rd and 4th and 5th graders? Well, it's fun for the kids.
So what would you do? Go in and make marshmallow? What would you do? Make some kind of
I went in. Well, I'm standing up on a little stage in front of all these fucking kids, and so I went in and I cut a bunch of fruit animals while I was talking to them about being a chef, and I'm like, I do this, I do that, and I'm doing all this knife stuff without looking at my hands because, particularly at that time, I was doing a lot of actual hands-on prep work, so my knife skills were like top tier. And so I'm like carving fruits, swans out of apples, and I did like a little like a watermelon carving and stuff, and where you just you leave all the skin on, but you just take pieces of it off so it looks like a picture, and so I was doing all this shit while I'm talking to the kids and doing like Q&A and all this other stuff, and then they go to my kid. Well, it must be great having a chef for a dad, and he's like, meh.
Yeah.
Oh well, what's your favorite thing that your dad makes? Oh, I don't eat his cooking.
I don't. Right. What is this? Why is it that we have kids that like, I have all this podcasting stuff. Not one of my kids is interested in doing any kind of, podcast, social media, none of it.
Yeah.
None of it.
Although, I guess I can actually kind of like my kid really doesn't give a shit about social media either. The only thing he does with social media is like related to work. He's got his job, he's got his business. He's doing okay for himself. He's doing pretty good for himself. You know, at least as far as I'm aware. From things he tells me, I have extrapolated that he's doing pretty okay. He's doing better than his old man. So good for him. I'm proud of him. He's a great kid. I'm proud of the young man he's become. The only stuff I ever see him post on his like Facebook page, I don't think he has Facebook and Instagram. I don't think he has any other social media beyond that. It's always like because he does like window tints and
Okay.
paint film and stuff on cars. You know, like the
Yeah.
EPF films and the ceramic coats and all that kind of stuff. And he's very good at what he does. He does an amazing job. I mean, he's always been that way. Anything that holds his attention, he's fucking good at. And but and he's doing like supercars and freaking Ferraris and like really high end stuff. And then he also does construction where he does buildings where he like oh, this construction company just put a new wing on this hospital and I did UV treatments on all the glass in this entire building. And he'll post pictures of that shit or pictures of the cars that he's tinting or like he'll do a little like like 10-second clip of him putting on a piece of film and just like an ASMR kind of video where it's just like and it's something and I'll admit there some of them are really satisfying where it's like where he's like squeegeeing the water out from under the film and it's just I'm like that's cool, that's soothing for
Mhm.
some fucking reason, and that's it. I never see any comments on anything, any posts.
Smart.
The only stuff I've ever seen him post that's not like just that stuff is occasionally it'll be something where he'll like repost somebody else post about like, you know, if your friend has a small business, pay them full price, you cheap bastards. Don't be looking for the hookup because they're not.
Right.
Just that kind of stuff where I'm like, I'm with you, son. I'm with you.
Yeah. See, the thing is, and I gotta agree. I think if I was young right now and I was working in a business or something like that, I would keep my God, how hard would that be? I would keep my opinions to myself.
Oh
I
yeah.
wouldn't say anything. I'd be like very neutral. You have to be. And I think it was Michael Jordan who said, they said, well, why don't you get into politics? He says, because no matter what side it is, both sides buy sneakers.
Yep.
And why would you upset one side or the other? Why does anybody care what I think?
Jordan's not a dumb guy. I'll tell you that. I've
Yeah.
met him a couple of times. Decent guy. But yeah, no, that's smart. You don't both
Right.
sides buy sneakers. Exactly. It's
Yeah. He's the original. I shut up and I dribble.
yeah.
My job is to go out there and perform for people. No one gives a shit what I think about the president or gay people or anything besides basketball.
And it's
Ask me a basketball question, fine.
that be somebody that appreciates that. It's just that's another reason why he's the goat and fuck LeBron, which is
Yeah.
a whole nother tear I could go off on. I hated LeBron when he was getting drafted. There's a lot of people that hate LeBron now because of whatever. I've hated him since day one.
Well, look at who's coming out of the draft now. The Deion Sanders kid. What's his name?
Shamar,
Shamar or
Shamar,
whatever it is.
whatever.
He is the most entitled. Like, in other words, anybody that wanted to draft him, if he wasn't a superstar or he wasn't number one coming out, it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh,
Like the Browns, they don't care. And here's the other thing.
as it's the Browns. Good. There you go.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. I don't think he's going to, I think he's going to go back to college because now they get paid in college to be an athlete. So he has one more year left. If
Yeah.
he goes back to college, he'll make $6.5 million in endorsements. If he goes to the NFL, since he's in the fifth or sixth round and he got drafted,
Yeah.
he'll make like $400,000.
Yeah. It would definitely be a pay cut for him, and honestly, part of me is not surprised. I mean, he's not terrible, but
He's not the GOAT.
he's not phenomenal, and that attitude is, I mean, just from the couple of he can't do press. I watched a couple of his little like snippets of it. I couldn't watch the whole thing. I would have fucking snapped my phone, but I've watched a couple snippets. I'm like, this kid's fucking insufferable, and
Right.
plus, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Dion in terms of like when he was playing, he was a phenomenal athlete. He's not a terrible coach. I mean, he's, you know, not the best
This
coach, but he's not terrible. But
this kid has been told his shit hasn't stunk since he was playing midget football.
yeah, I mean,
His father coached him in high school, his father coached him in college, and now anybody that drafts him is going to have to put up with his father.
yeah, well,
Who
that's what I was going to say. That's the baggage that comes with him. Not only do you have his own attitude and his own bullshit, for lack of a better term, but you're going to have Dion in the wings trying to, you know, interfere with the coaching staff. Why is my kid not getting these plays? You're stupid for not running this. You know, and nobody wants to deal with that shit, and nobody wants to deal with a Hall of Fame Karen. You know,
when the Philadelphia Flyers they ended up getting Eric Lindros. Why? Well, Eric Lindros was drafted by the Ottawa Senators back when that was a team.
yeah,
And he wouldn't go to that team. So they said, "Okay, you take him." And he came with two parents that were insufferable and constantly were in the front office and talking to the general manager, who was Bobby Clark, who was a Hall of Famer, won 2 Stanley Cups, and he had to put up with their parents. And I'll tell you what, I understand Eric Lindros was good, but he was no Wayne Gretzky or no Mario Lemieux. He wasn't he wasn't there. He was close, but he wasn't that.
he wasn't quite that tier, and he wasn't as good as he thought he was.
No. And the day that Scott Stevenson dropped his shoulder and gave him his final concussion and spun him around like a top and knocked his mouthpiece out was the happiest day of my life. I never liked him as a Flyer, hated him. And
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what's going to happen with him. That's what's going to happen with this smart kid, because he's not going to. And you don't think that these NFL players, these defenses, are going to see this shit that this kid's saying? He's going to try to teach him a lesson. What's the guy that used to play? He played with the Washington back then. It was the Redskins. Peter Griffin III. What was his Archie Griffin III? I can't remember his name.
shit.
But anyhow, he
Yeah,
came in
why am I
and
blanking? I'm getting
I'm blanking out his first name. He's right now. He has a pod. Everybody has a podcast, but he has a podcast. He does sports stuff, and I like him now. But back when he was playing, he thought he was like the best thing since sliced bread, and he was a running quarterback, and then he went to go out of bounds one time, and he's kind of slowed up, and somebody plowed him like a fresh field, and that was it. He was done. They knocked the toughness right out of him. He was never right again.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Carson
I'm rooting
Wentz.
for that too. I mean,
Yeah, Carson Wentz, same thing here with the Eagles. He couldn't take any pressure. They drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, and that ruined him. It
yeah,
ruined him. He has never been the same since.
yeah.
So I can't wait to see what happens. I don't think he's going to go to the Browns. He's going to do the same thing that Eli Manning did when he got drafted. He's going to hold out and then get traded. He got traded to the Giants.
Yeah,
So he's going to do the same thing.
I could see that being the case. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
although you'd think, if nothing else, it should be a little bit humbling. I mean, it won't be.
No.
It's not going to be, but it should be a little bit like, when you're out here trying to act like your shit don't stink and you're riding on daddy, but you think you're that fucking great, and then nobody wants to take you. I mean, anybody with a modicum of common sense, which ain't common anymore. And soon, and I've had to deal with the little nepo baby bullshit in other respects, just through different facets of my life when I was growing up and stuff. And they never get the message,
Well, I love it when the commentators are like, "This is racism. This is because he's black that they don't do." No. And they're trying to say it's the same thing as the guy, the quarterback from Kaepernick, Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, it's the same thing as Kaepernick. Yeah.
Oh, and and you want to talk about barely fucking black? I'm blacker than Kaepernick just solely based on my credit. I mean,
well, he passes as black, but the thing with Kaepernick, you're right. It is like Kaepernick. Neither one of them are as good as they think they are.
oh,
I'm telling you right. Yeah, look at all the NFL.
when all the shit happened with him, and everybody else was like, oh well, why don't you think this? And I'm like, no. I thought he sucked before all the drama started. I don't think he's nearly as important as he thinks he is. I mean, he's got photogenic and he's got the right boxes that he's ticking to have a big fucking mouth. He doesn't have the skills to make him as important as he thinks he is. He's not that critical to this fucking team.
The one thing the NFL is very, very good at is finding a player's strengths and weaknesses and preying on their weaknesses. And that's what they did with Colin Kaepernick. He got away with 2 or 3 seasons where, he was running around and he could throw the ball. And as soon as they figured out how to defend him, he was done. He stunk. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. I don't know if that's true or not, but it is in my mind.
Close enough.
And, yeah. And then he went and he started that kneeling shit, and then that ruined the NFL for years.
And
the amount of damage that he did to the NFL brand, I can't even imagine how much. You couldn't put a dollar amount on it. Billions of dollars.
Big money with a B.
Right.
And yeah, and frankly, I mean, like I said, I just as a player, I didn't like him, so it was kind of like my only thing was I had to kind of offset that by sorry, Beck's acting up. By, like I said, because people will be like, "Oh, well, you're saying that because X, Y, and Z." I'm like, no. Saying it because he's a douche. I don't care about X, Y, and Z.
The NFL has nothing. There's 70%, 80% black.
Yeah,
it's shit.
Yeah. Oh well, it's racism. How?
They let Ray Lewis play. They let Michael Vick got out of
yeah. I was say Ray Lewis. That's there's a good callback. I thought Ray Lewis cracks me up, but I'm sorry. I'm not trying to derail you.
No. I'm just saying it's they let him play. Michael
the
Vick
FBI was involved in that, and they let him play for
right.
Yeah,
look at all the criminals, the wife beaters, all that shit.
Fighters, wife beaters, smacking around.
Yeah, they don't
drug dealers,
exactly.
Tax dodgers. I mean, it's not a racial issue, and if you bring it up, you're no longer anybody I'm going to take seriously. I mean,
right.
And not to mention, like the first 4 or 5 guys that got drafted, none of them were white. How's it racist?
Right. Well, the Giants drafted a quarterback, but they didn't draft him. And he would have been a nightmare in New York. He would have been a nightmare in New York with all that, with the press there every time. And you know something? He's not. I shouldn't say this. I don't know how good this kid is. Maybe he's the next Tom Brady. I don't know that. But I'll just tell you what, if he went to New York and wasn't good, they would run him out of town on a rail.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll see.
The New Yorkers, you East Coast people, you all need to relax a little bit. I tell you.
No, this is what we do. This is how we don't kill people. This is what we do. We take it out on sports figures, everybody else.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, with the Eagles thing. I was like, Eagles win, Eagles lose. Either way, Philadelphia's catching on fire tonight. So,
right. You know what we do? We stay out of Philadelphia. We let all the drunks go in there, climb the poles, and burn shit down, and somebody will get killed.
That's pretty much how I treat Chicago too. So I completely understand.
Somebody will fall off of a light post.
What's going on? Who's playing tonight? Yeah, no, I'm staying home. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I love going out to sporting events in Chicago. Very rarely does it have anything to do with the actual game. Like, I love. Don't get me wrong. I love hockey games. I'll go watch a Blackhawks game. I don't care who they're playing. I don't care, what's going on. I enjoy sitting there in my little uncomfortable seat, watching the game, breathing the nice cold air, just being happy.
I have no desire anymore to go to any sporting events, any I used to go all
I go because it's free. So
you couldn't even get me you couldn't give me tickets. I've done all of it. I've been to every stadium in Philadelphia except Shai Park back before I was born. But every stadium that's in this area, I've been to for concerts, hockey games, basketball games, football games, college games, and no, I'm done. I want to sit in my chair where the bathroom's real close. I don't have to stand in line.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely better. Well,
yeah.
Like I said, I will go to a Blackhawks game though. That's really the only one I got left at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to a Bears game. I'm not going to a Bulls game. I'm not going to any
Cubs.
baseball parks. I couldn't tell you the last time I've been to it. Actually, yeah, I could. I almost got thrown out the last time I was at a Cubs game, because of a drunk fell on me, and I was in the first row of the upper deck. And me and my buddy were there watching a game because my buddy got tickets and he was like, "Hey," it was like freaking Wednesday day game. It's like, hey, what are you doing? And as a chef, I had kept weird hours, so Wednesday was my day off because I worked on the weekends. I'm like, I'm not doing shit. I just got done mowing the lawn. What's up? And he's like, dude, I scored some Cubs tickets. You want to go hang out? I'm like, you buying the beer? He's like, yeah, I'll buy. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
So we went, and he's actually was one of my chef buddies, and so we went and we went and watched the game, and we were like bottom of the third, I think. I mean, the game had just barely started, and the guy behind us, like 3 rows back, was just lit to the fucking gills, and he had to have been drunk before he got there. And we're in the front row, and we'd like just gotten our like $15 24-ounce freaking old styles, and this motherfucker falls over the seats into our backs and hits me, and I drop my beer from the upper deck down into the lower deck, and it was a full beer. I was like,
Oh
so
no.
I'm pissed off that I dropped a full beer. Somebody could have gotten hurt. Fortunately, it didn't hit anybody, but it did hit a seat and explode and got a bunch of people wet, and they called security. And they pull up the cameras that are always panning the crowd, and they're like, oh, well, it came from here. And I'm like, well, roll the camera back another 3 seconds so you can see this asshole fall into me and knock it out of my hand. Because the security showed up like, you guys chucked your beers over the edge. I'm like, no, this fucking drunk asshole fell on top of me and knocked it out of my hand. You think I'm going to throw a full $15 beer over the edge? Are you fucking insane? And they're just like, all right, you know what? Here, let's check. And like the guy, calls back. Hey, he said that so and so fell on him. And they, yeah, no, okay, thanks. He's all right. Checks out. And then they left, and I guess they went to go look for the drunk because he was no longer in the area because he fell on two very large, cranky men in the middle of the day. He did
Well,
not
it
hang
happened.
around. And
Hmm.
yeah, that was the last time I went to a Cubs game, and that was, oh God, 10 years ago, 11 years
Yeah.
ago.
Well, so now, but at least now in sports, they have something to talk about until preseason starts because they'll be talking about him and what he's going to do and how he's going to go with the Browns. And now he's the fourth. He's behind Deshaun Jackson, the quarterback from the Baltimore Ravens that were 20 years ago, and some rookie, and he's fourth quarterback. That's never going to fly.
Yeah, that's not a good narrative for him.
No.
Kind of
And
funny.
it's going to be racist. It's racist that he's that far back because the NFL wants to keep the black man down. Listen, the NFL has created more black millionaires than anything else in the entire world. Don't give me that they're racist.
Yeah, I don't get that. The only argument I ever hear that people bring up that has even a sliver of validity to it is go, well, what about the owners? Well, the NFL isn't making any of the owners more millionaires. They were millionaires to start with,
Right.
except for the Packers because the Packers is owned by the citizens of Green Bay. So
Well, they, like I'll just go by the Philadelphia Eagles. I forget how much the Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the Eagles, bought them for 30 years ago, but it was like $300 million, which was an astronomical amount of money. And now the team's worth over $1 billion.
yeah, and
So
I mean it is an investment. He makes more money, but like he wasn't broke to start with. Is kind of my point.
I'm just going to tell you, pretty soon there's going to be, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 10 former black athletes that get together. They pool their money and they're going to buy an interest, a 50% interest in a team. And then you'll have your first black ownership.
Yep.
But like, hey, listen, you know what they say, if the owners ever woke up being as rich as the richest NFL player, they would jump out of the window.
Yep.
They would not be able to handle it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, boss. What do you think? Have we bored the audience enough? I'm just kidding.
I mean, probably, but fuck them. That's not as I'm fond of saying. I appreciate the fact that you guys like listening, but I do this for me.